right, y'all, come on in here. Come on in here. I apologize for the delay. My computer was not starting up. Anyway, we're here now. Yes, I am reporting live from Diddy's jail cell, as you can see right behind me, and we're going to get into it. But not only are we going to get into it, right now, Dawn is on the stand. But y'all, we are going to briefly, probably 6 minutes or less, when there's a break, we're going to go through the part of the indictment that talks about RICO, because so many people are like, where's the RICO? Where's the RICO? This is not RICO, da-da-da-da-da. Y'all, the prosecution has already proved RICO. I know it sounds crazy, but I spent all weekend going through the indictment, looking through, going back over the evidence. And as crazy as it sounds, yes, they have in fact proven. And I'm going to show you, I want to get your thoughts on it, because basically I want to hear whether you think, based on what's been shown so far, someone should be facing life or not. Let us know where you're viewing from in the chat. So I'm going to catch you up. We're going to catch you up on these tweets for today. All right. So what we're starting with, come on in here. I know y'all been waiting for me. I'm Attorney Simone, your legal bestie. I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. I've been practicing law for about 17 years now. I am the first attorney to sue R. Kelly in civil court on behalf of any of his victims to get the coins under the same laws that Cassie and other victims are now pursuing Diddy. So that's the basis for which my knowledge comes from. Drop your legal questions in the chat. But all right, we're going to start with, we're just going to kind of recap it. Not that much has gone on. It was a lot of procedural stuff. So starting out, this week begins with the judge ruling on what Don can testify about. And then also talking about Carrie Morgan. Carrie Morgan is Cassie's bestie, or was her bestie, until Diddy ran after the girl with a wooden hanger and pop, 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 clocked on the head, such that Carrie got a out of court settlement from both Cassie and Diddy. Cassie paid it, but she was trying to sue the two of them. Cassie paid it to keep it quiet, which would make sense. Cassie said she paid it with her money. I wouldn't be surprised if some of Diddy's money was part of it too, but that's her. And I'm going to tell you, keep this in mind. This is the significance of Don's testimony. What we're going to focus on this week is, let's not focus so much on the ST, right? ST, y'all know what that is, the trafficking. That was Cassie's testimony. When I break down the indictment and what has to be proved, it'll make a little more sense. I break things down, y'all, like the way that I talk to my homegirls when I'm drunk at brunch, or they're drunk at brunch, or we're all drunk at brunch. So that's what you're going to get over here. So if you want it to be all legalese, like I am in class with my students, no, that's not what you're going to get here. All right. The purpose, keep this in mind. Some of the most important stuff you're going to get from Don is not actually the ST. It's not actually hearing about Diddy trying to knock Cassie in the head with a pan of eggs. What is really going to be the most important? Y'all tap in. I need you to lean in. This is different than what a lot of bloggers are saying. The most important part of Don's testimony is going to be forced labor. I'm going to put it on the screen. I'm going to give y'all a little banner. First of all, we need to have this going. Forced labor. Let me update this. Yeah, there you go. You see my little cash app below. Okay, here we go. But forced labor. Here's what forced labor is. Forced labor, examples of it. First of all, here's why it's so important. In order for Diddy to get life, to face life, to be found guilty of RICO, they have to find him guilty of two predicate offenses, meaning two underlying crimes that occurred within 10 years of each other. One of those crimes can be forced labor. That would be arguably him. Now, Don already has a civil suit. So him not paying her, making her work and not paying her, is forced labor. Him making Danny Kane and the girls practice all night, all day without pay. And here's what's most important. There are allegations that he would give some of the girls substances to make them go all night. Y'all know what I'm talking about. You know, they call it the white girl. They call it, that stuff. actually helps you stay up all night. My boys that used to work on Wall Street had told me stories. I don't know, but I can guess. So if in fact there is testimony, and I think Dawn's testimony may speak to that, Lori Ann's testimony may also speak to forced labor. But if they got forced labor, they're screwed. So that is how come on Friday at 3:30, Diddy's legal team sat up there and said, Your Honor, we object to Dawn. We don't want her coming up there. Because if this forced labor comes in, he's in trouble. He will have had, that will be multiple underlying RICO offenses that are going to be a huge problem for him. So let me see. All right, so let's go ahead. Let's see. We're watching from H-Town. I'm recording from H-Town. All right, so to start, the judge says, all rise. On the defendant's application with regards to Dawn, Mrs. Garagos' opening statement opened the door to this testimony. That's why you can't just be out there bumping your gums saying a little bit of everything in opening statement, because you don't want to open a door. It says, as to Mr. James, that is the former president of Bad Boy. As to Mr. James, the testimony would be inadmissible absent more. All right, we'll get into that. The prosecutor says, as I argued in my letter, note, the judge just ruled orally on letters that are not in the docket. Okay, thanks for telling us. Although they are clearly judicial documents. Inner City Press has challenged to the docket to seal or unseal. What is this? Oh, that's his challenge, asking the judge to seal or unseal. We don't need to look at that. All right. The judge, I'll break this down. The judge says the same brand of testimony that was objected to on Friday. Does the government expect Ms. Richards to say what she heard and what she saw? The judge said that's permissible, just like the testimony in the recording studio. So the objection was hearsay. Usually, you're not allowed to say what you heard, because generally it's an out-of-court statement submitted for the truth of the matter. That's what hearsay is. However, the judge must have found that there was an exception. There's a lot of exceptions. Some exceptions could be admissions. It could be a contradiction of prior testimony. There's different exceptions. All right. Then it says personal assistance. Another reason they didn't want Dawn's testimony is that part of the argument is that if she was going to be speaking about so-called DV situations, it was repetitive of what Cassie also testified. The defense does not want witnesses just be piling on, just talking about Diddy running around whooping people, especially given that a large part of their defense is he's not on trial for whooping up on people via DV anyway. Again, it's not DV if you whooping on your employees. It's only DV if it's your girlfriend or your baby mama. All right. The prosecutor says personal assistants were with Mr. Combs 20 hours a day. Their testimony is admissible. Y'all, the testimony of personal assistants is how they bring RICO to light. Here's what RICO really is. And everyday, regular lingo. We already know his entity is called Sean Combs Enterprises. So we know he has an enterprise. All he has to show is that he's directing people to do stuff they ain't got no business doing because it's illegal. So we got the enterprise because it's called Sean Combs Enterprises. All you have to show that the enterprise is doing some illegal stuff. And that illegal stuff can simply be Diddy, for example, telling the hotel, telling somebody that worked for him, go give that cash to the hotel worker. That's bribery. Him telling Cassie, go set up the hookers, the male hookers. That's prostitution. Him telling somebody else, provide the substances that me and all these hookers are going to enjoy. That's distribution, or obtaining them for distribution. Literally, obtaining substances to give them to the hookers is distributing them. It doesn't matter that they're hookers and they're going to perform better and there's going to be more baby oil and more jizz everywhere for him to rub on his nipples. Nasty. All right, here we go. So again, personal assistants were with Mr. Combs 20 hours a day. Their testimony is admissible. The judge says, my concern is that there are other ways to get this evidence in. What Mr. James would add is just the postscript, meaning what happened after the fact. They're arguing about former Bad Boy CEO, Mr. James. Combs is lawyer. On the David James issue, I could be wrong. Hold on. On the David James issue, this defeats the whole purpose of the hearsay objection. The government is arguing that it's all admissible because the job descriptions were so vague. We contend these are personal matters. Hold on, let me double check. I'm sorry. I was thinking it was the former CEO. No, David James. Hold on. I'm going to confirm what his role is. Hold on. Let me get that right because I know that's wrong. He is one of the assistants. All right. Ugh. Okay, hold on. David is. All right. It says Ventura is the prosecutor's star witness. She also named David James when asked about Combs's, quote, trusted assistants, who she said helped set up the FOs. All right, so David James, let me clarify. He is one of the people that used to set up the FOs, the baby oil, all of that. So part of the relevancy is likely that he could also testify to, what went down there that was related to RICO. The judge says, let me focus. All right. Agnifilo is saying, let me make sure you guys can still see this. Sorry, let me make it bigger. I'm so sorry. Y'all need to see my face. Y'all need to see the words. Here we go. Now, that's what we need. I can go away. All right. It says, the judge says, my concern is that there are other ways to get this evidence in, talking about James's testimony. What Mr. James would add, and this would just be postscript. Combs, on the David James issue, this defeats the whole purpose of the hearsay objection. The government is arguing that it's all admissible because the job descriptions are so vague, but we contend those are personal matters. The judge, let me focus on the assault on the chef. Mr. James learns from a member of the security detail that Mr. Combs assaulted the chef. Wouldn't that be in the scope of their employment? Defense, I don't know what relevance this has to racketeering. Listen, little stupid. Yes, you do. You play too much. Yes, defense attorney Agnifilo, you know what it has to do. Here's what it has to do. It has to do with it because part of racketeering is literally, I tell you to do my dirty work. This is establishing that I can order anyone to do my dirty work, that if I'm assaulting people, it's my dirty work. Now, to be clear, him assaulting his chef, just smacking her or what have you, that is not part of RICO. You guys are right. That is true. But him having the power to instruct staff to make somebody go away or what have you is. Oh, also, it can be relevant because one of the elements that they can prove to prove RICO is, quote, tampering with a witness. If that chef had witnessed other things like potential FOs, or potential ST, trafficking, then that's important. That is one of the ways to prove RICO. Combs's lawyer is saying this is becoming a sort of bad act free for all. Assault is just not one of the racketeering acts. AUSA, this is relevant to the means and methods of the enterprise. Didn't I just tell y'all? Means and methods of the enterprise, okay? The drunk brunch way of saying means and method is, this is how we do it. This is how we do it. Literally meaning this is how the enterprise crimes are carried out. Do y'all follow me? It says the chef is identified as a victim of forced labor. See? Oh, there you go. That's the word today. FL, forced labor. Y'all go on anybody else's channel. I don't know if they're going to be talking about that. But forced labor, if they can prove forced labor, baby, they done proved up the RICO. Because we've already proven, and I'll get into this later, they've already proven bribery, arguably. I'm sorry, they've already proven, okay, bribery is arguable. I'll get back to that. That was whether or not they bribed the hotel. But I think we can all agree they have proven so far the prostitution. Okay, we got the prostitution. Let me know in the chat, put a 1 if you think they've proven that there was prostitution taking place. And again, this type of prostitution only has to be in 2 different states. And last week, that testimony. This is how we do it. Hit that subscribe if you're new here. Thank you. Brown Eyes. Yes. If Diddy told them to do it, correct. It has to be if Diddy instructed. So why are they not going to a criminal trial too? So the answer to that, Danielle, and I'll get back to that. I'm gonna star your comment because it's important. Why are those people not on criminal trial? Is you always got to have people testify to get the head honcho first to make sure you're going to secure the testimony. Afterwards, they very well might be. They might be. It just depends. It also depends on their level of power and control in the process. If they weren't a big ringleader, if you're just the chef or the security, you're not going to be charged in the same way because they need the chef and they need the lower level people to get to the head person. Let me see. Okay, the question is, let us know in the chat if you feel like last week they showed there was prostitution. I think y'all, prostitution is the easiest thing. A lot of y'all's granddaddies was hiring prostitutes. Okay, I know mine was, and he didn't even really have no money like that. But anyway, enough of my business. All right, so they're going back and forth. The argument, the defense's argument is like, listen, y'all are just allowing in all these bad acts. Here's what a bad act is. A bad act, courts and criminal trials are very, very strict with allowing in bad acts because if you okay, what is a bad act? A bad act is something they're not being charged for in this case, but just shows that this person has misbehaved or has broken the law in other instances. So here, it could be, there are some uncharged offenses, meaning he's not being charged criminally for what he did, but they're putting it in here to show the means in the operation of the entity of the so-called RICO enterprise. And the reason bad acts is real, you got to be real careful letting them in because that's one of the easiest ways to get a conviction overturned on appeal. Because if you let in a bad act that is not directly relevant, then what happens is a jury may convict a person for being a jerk rather than for doing the crime at issue. So some people's concern with this trial is y'all in here including a lot of things he's done that are jerky, but don't have to do with ST and don't appear to have to do with RICO. I get it. We're covering that today. Hit that subscribe, baby, as y'all come on in here. I need about 500 more subscribers to get us to 50,000, which was my goal for the whole month. Thank y'all. Let's keep going. All right. Agnifilo says, I'm going to defer to Miss. So the prosecution says, listen, let in this info on what they did to the chef because that's part of forced labor. And the defense is saying, look, I'm going to defer to Miss Westmoreland. She is the Black defense attorney, Black female, who herself is an S assault survivor. If you don't remember that story, I can let you know that once we've caught up. We're going to get caught up right now. Then we're going to get into some of this legal tea. All right. Miss Westmoreland says, I think it should be Mrs. Richard. Mrs. Richard claims that Mr. Combs assaulted Miss Ventura right in front of her. These other alleged threats are nowhere near in close proximity to an alleged assault. They're trying to convince the judge, like, Judge, don't let this stuff in. Miss Westmoreland says, we have to distinguish between the Danity Kane and the Diddy Dirty Money eras. That is true. You need to distinguish those because, again, remember with RICO, you got to prove they did something within 10 years. Some of that Danity Kane stuff was 2005. So if you're trying to link it with stuff that happened in 2008, baby, you're not within that 10 years. Makes sense? I promise y'all I went to Cornell Law School. I promise. This is just how I talk when I'm drunk with my friends at brunch. Okay. Miss Warland said we have to compare the two eras, and Mr. Pierre, as in Harvey Pierre, telling her, where are you going to go? I don't see how that can be construed as a threat. The judge says, let me think about it. Judge, we have an application from the press that emails be put in the record. I am directing you to put them together and put them in the docket by next Tuesday. Awesome. We're going to go over those. And after that, do it on a weekly basis. Go. Thank you, Inner City Press. That's why I subscribe to him and I give him my money. All right, next. The jury is now entering. The prosecutor says, when Mr. Combs told you that people could go missing, how did you interpret that? She says to Dawn. Dawn says that people could be unalived. I couldn't believe that this could be the beginning of a journey for us. As dirty money? She said, yes. Prosecutor, what did you observe? He would drag her and kick her and punch her in the mouth. What would prompt these acts of violence? Objection overruled. When she would speak up for herself. I think this is to go towards the ST perhaps. Who in security witnessed these things? D-Rock and Bonds. Oh, talking about Roger Bonds. Y'all talking about Roger Bonds. Talking about Roger Bonds. We'll have to see if he's on the witness list. Where did Miss Ventura get hit? Her knees, her face, all over. Did there come a time when you were in New York for a festival? Yes, in Central Park. In the residence, what happened? He punched Cassie. She came into the bathroom crying. You could see her upset, like she was hurt. Objection. Sustained. What injuries did you observe? So you're not allowed to testify for somebody who's not there, right? You can't say what she felt. So to say she was hurt, like you can't say that, but you can say she was crying. What injuries did you observe? A swollen eye. Why'd you remain with Miss Ventura after this incident? I wanted her to feel supported. What's this? The Central Park event. A photo of Cassie in sunglasses and Dawn too. Why did you wear them? Solidarity. The next, that's all. I'm trying to pick YouTube friendly words, y'all. Who was there? D-Rock, Capricorn Clark, and Harvey Pierre. Who was Mr. Pierre? At Bad Boy, answering to Sean Combs. Did they do anything? None of us did anything. Listen, if you've ever had a friend who was going through, y'all hit that subscribe if you haven't already. Hey, Cheryl. If you've ever had a friend going through a DV situation, what I can tell you is it's one of the parts that's challenging is that sometimes it doesn't make sense to necessarily call the police or intervene each time when you know they're going back. It's different when they're ready to make a change, but when you know they're going back, it becomes tricky. All right, let's keep going. It says, none of us did anything. When we drove back to LA, he slapped Cassie in the mouth and told her to shut the F up. How did the passengers respond? We stayed silent the rest of the ride, probably because they knew Cassie wasn't going nowhere. She wasn't going nowhere. So y'all speak up. All you're doing is actually possibly making it worse to where she's going to get knocked in between the washer and dryer when she gets home. Don says, I asked myself, if he did that to someone he supposedly loved, what would he do to an employee? So I'd approach Mr. Combs with softness. Did you try to intervene in the relationship? No, for my own safety. I'd also say no for your safety, but also no for your career, but also no, because Cassie wasn't going anywhere. At this point, Cassie stayed for, I think it was like 8 more years. Did you see Mr. Combs using substances? Yes. Weed, the big K, Molly, when they call it white girl, opiates. Richard, I never saw that. Who brought him the substances? One Stop. He had it all. One Stop is, I guess, is a distributor's name. One Stop. He had it all, including Plan B birth control. Ooh, I need my gavel. Oh, not the Plan B. I'm jealous. I got to say I'm jealous because back in this day, y'all, and I'm the Plan B connoisseur. Do you know at Costco, it's $12.99. Might have gone up a little bit for the tariffs, but FYI, if you ever need Plan B, they sell it at Costco, and you don't have to be a Costco member. You just walk right in and you tell them, I'm here. Well, I say I'm here for the Plan B, but you don't have to give them all that. You can simply say, I'm here to pick up a prescription. They literally have to let everybody in. But with the Plan B, I know it may seem odd to most normal civilians. It was because he likely didn't, number one, for the FOs and likely for Cassie, etc., but also for his performers, He didn't want them to get pregnant because if you got pregnant, that was going to ruin the tour schedule, the all of that. So, yeah. And I'm jealous. The reason I'm saying I'm jealous too, because back in the day when I needed a plan B, because I was on the pill. Sidebar, I like to tell my business a lot sometimes. I was on the pill, but I was terrified of getting pregnant because my daddy would start crying. I was sure of it if I got pregnant in college. But also because I think I had they give you antibiotics for yeast infection or whatever I had going on. Who knows? I was in college. But they would give you that, and then they would tell you, oh, this may not make your birth control work. And I was like, my boyfriend was real stupid back then, but he was fine. I was like, I'm not about to have a stupid baby. Not with him, at least. And therefore, back then, though, you had to have a visit with your doctor. The doctor had to give you a prescription, and then you could get it back in the day. So to know that not only could his dealer get the good stuff, but to get birth control lets you know the breadth of these freak offs. All right, let's keep going. My apologies for the ignorance. So he had it all. It says, and also this is significant. So she's saying somebody named One Stop, he had it all and could get the stuff. This is significant because as well, one of the charges in the indictment that can be used to prove up RICO. Remember, they only need to prove 2 offenses to prove RICO in this case. One of them is distribution of substances, illegal substances. Plan B would be included because they didn't have a prescription, but also these other ones that are on the screen that are illegal. All right. Next, it says, did you see Mr. Combs with Pow Pals? Yes. Hand Pow Pals on his lower back. Who asked had Pow Pals? Security, D-Rock, and Bonds. What did you do after Bad Boy? Sing. Whenever I got momentum, I'd get a FaceTime from him, though. Oh, we're going into forced labor. How did you speak to him? Very soft. I'd always call him bro. What did you not disclose? Why did you not disclose the abuse you'd seen? I was told not to by Mr. Combs and Harvey Pierre. Forced coercion. When did you speak out? 2024. All right. Here we go. 2024. Let's keep scrolling down. I saw Miss Ventura take the stand and tell the truth. Objection sustained. You can't say tell the truth as though someone else's testimony wasn't true. It's only the jury gets to decide what the truth is. The jury's there literally to decide for the jury what was true, what was not. So that's why it was sustained. Did you see Miss Ventura file a civil lawsuit and then decide to file your own? Yes. Judge, cross. Okay. That means they have wrapped up with Dawn, y'all. This is critical. This is critical. This confirms what I just said. Dawn is there, her testimony, and we'll hear some more from the cross. But the gist of what Dawn is there to substantiate is probably the force, the control, the means and methods. Remember, means and methods means in the getaway, this is how we do it. Means and methods is the means and methods the criminal enterprise was operating. You got to prove that to prove RICO. And she's there to support forced labor, descriptions of forced labor. All right. Ms. Moreland says, oh, wait, y'all. Wait. If they're on cross means the prosecution has put out there all the bad stuff the judge is going to allow Dawn to testify to. Y'all know what this means? Come on, lean in. Y'all, this means they did not let her talk about the alleged kidnapping she experienced. The alleged kidnapping. Hit that subscribe, y'all. Please hit that subscribe so we can go on. Does that make sense? So one of the allegations as well in the indictment is kidnapping. Right? That's another thing that they need to prove, that they can prove up to prove the RICO. She told in her civil lawsuit, she talked about the fact that they were at a studio or something. He was mad at her. He put her in the car, locked the doors, and would not let her out of the car. Y'all remember that? He would not let her out of the car. Well, I thought, and under the indictment, which I'm going to go over once we get all caught up, y'all, under the indictment, it lists 2 forms of kidnapping, one in Cali, one in New York. And I was wondering whether perhaps this incident that Dawn experienced, getting locked in that car. She was locked in that car for so long. She called her daddy who was in Baltimore. Her daddy drove up from Baltimore all the way to New York, got to that studio, had words with Diddy, and made Diddy let her out the car. That's kidnapping, y'all. I don't know. Good question. Kim is asking, why wouldn't they let her talk about that? Number one, it sounds like good lawyering from the defense. I'm going to look into that a little bit more. But it sounds like, can they deport Diddler? No, unfortunately, he's a citizen. But it sounds like that is a bad act. Remember, we talked about before, there are certain bad acts that the defense is trying to keep out because if he's not specifically being charged with it. So what this simply means is whatever kidnapping that the prosecution wants to be part of the indictment, it wasn't Dawn's situation. It must be something else. So that's just what I wanted you to follow there. So there's a lot that we know Dawn experienced, but because we're now moving to cross, it means the prosecution, this is all they were allowed to talk about, y'all. That's something else. This is all they're allowed to talk about. Now, on the cross, oh, Lord, y'all, on the cross, we're going to see how they try and redeem and break down. Thank you so much, Review Bay. Welcome. Come on in, girl. I call y'all my jury because y'all's opinion is the only one that matters to me. All right, so now let's see what the prosecution is going to do now. With the defense. The defense is using Nicole Westmoreland to do this cross. Now, so it's black girl to black girl today, baby. Black girl to black girl. Nicole Westmoreland is black. She was the one that she sued Cash Money Records successfully because when she was 19 years old, she was there at the studio on business. And there was a man in there who R-worded her. He even pled guilty to it. So she done been through some things. So black girl to black girl, they in there tussling, y'all, in the courtroom. So let's hear. Cross, Miss Westmoreland. You are aware there's a motion to dismiss your lawsuit. She said, I have civil lawyers. You sat with the prosecutors and your allegations have changed. She said, I've been consistent. You testified that he attempted to hit her about the head with eggs and Miss Ventura dropped down in a fetal position, right? Yes. Did you ever say you heard a pan hit the wall and you didn't see it? I don't recall. Would you agree with me that it has been hard for you to keep your story straight with respect to the egg incident? She said, I told it as close as I could. The day after, you say Mr. Combs said people go missing. She said, yes. Hold on. I know. This is wise that what the defense tries to do is basically break down and say, oh, she has selective memory. She remembers certain things then, certain things then. Let me tell you something. I remember as a child, someone in my family throwing a bowl at another family member's head. Couldn't have been more than 6. I know what kind of cereal it was. I know what color the milk was. I still smell it. So whether you say I saw it or the thing hit the wall, when you say I saw the pan hit the wall and you see her on the floor, you know what just happened. You know what the heck just happened. So this is, to me, this is a difference without significance. Because if the such and such hit the wall, meaning he missed, and she's on the floor, it's still the fact that this incident occurred. You don't have to see, because for me, if I see someone about to hit my friend in the head that I don't have no control over with a pan of eggs, I'm probably going to look away. And it's a man and I can't fight him, baby, because we're going to try to take you. I'm going to get a knife. But if I can't take you, I'm actually probably going to look away. And yeah, I don't know if you've ever seen, it's kind of like when you were younger, if you ever saw one of your friends get a whooping, you kind of look away. Like I don't like seeing my friends get hurt. So I'm just saying it's a distinction without a difference is what we call it. But they're trying to use it to make her seem like a liar. So it says the day after you say Mr. Combs said people go missing. Let's do your interview. And she said, yes. Okay. They said, let's do your interview on March 18th. So that would be her interview with the prosecutors. It happens in March. The prosecutors generally, they'll then have a court reporter there that types up the transcript, and then they must share it with the defense so that the defense can use that for this purpose, preparing for court. Let's do your interview. You don't say anything about that Mr. Combs told you people go missing. Don says, I don't recall that. No worries. I'm going to show you a document for the parties. See page 5. Also, let me say this. I don't know whether this is an actual court reporter that's going to type up each and every word, or it could be that, like in the, I think it was ASAP Rocky trial. In the ASAP Rocky trial, what would happen is someone would summarize. Yeah, that's what happened. Someone would summarize the testimony of that person and give it to the other side, meaning it was never a verbatim repetition. I don't know which one this is. I'm just telling you. It says, Westmoreland says, isn't it true? The first time you said this was a week ago, talking about somebody would go missing. Would you like me to show you your previous interviews? I know what I said. You said Mr. Combs made a death threat, one that you didn't recall, 7 times. All right. 25 minutes ago. Hold on. Let's see if we got some more. Okay. You said Mr. Combs made a death threat, one that you didn't recall, 7 times. Then they move on. That's what you do. And a really good cross, once you made your point, don't even give them a chance to clarify, fix it. You just leave that thought in the mind of the jury and keep it shifting. It says, let's move to alleged incident before the Central Park concert. You were aware there was a camera crew, not in the bathroom. You were filmed in the park. Are you aware if the video has been turned over? No. Why would she know if the video is of something has been turned over? Diddy is the one that controlled any videos of any performances. Mr. Moreland, about the Pow Pows. You didn't tell the prosecutors about that I saw Pow Pows at Diddy's house. Don, they didn't ask. Y'all, that's important. I can't stand when they try to make somebody seem like a liar. And the issue is I wasn't asked the question. And they try to act like, well, wasn't it important? Shouldn't you have volunteered? You know how much I got going on? You know how strenuous it is to be interrogated by a federal prosecutor? Because it's not just the lawyers that are in there. It's actual FBI agents. And so you feel like, well, they know where they're going with this story, so they know what to ask me. And I'm going to answer what's asked. She said they didn't ask. You never saw Mr. Combs pull a Pow Pow out and wave it around, load, ammunition into it or cock it. She said he just had it. He just had it. To me, that sounds like she's telling the truth because she could have made it look way worse. She was saying, no, he just had the Pow Pow. Westmoreland, did you tell the government you never saw him do white girl? Is what I'm going to call it. Sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. If you're a Caucasian woman in the chat and you have a better YouTube friendly word for me to use for this substance, I would love to use it because I don't know if that'll hurt your feelings. It's called white girls. But they are like, they're called white girl because it is, it's exclusive. It's hard to get and it's expensive. Just like y'all. Okay. Oh, sorry. Hold on. I'm knocking this over. It says, did you ever tell him that you never saw him do, white girl? I don't recall. Your testimony has changed on quite a few things, Don Rashad. As time progresses, Don says, as time progresses, I remember more. That's probably true. Like I've done a deposition before. Multiple times have I done a deposition. And after the deposition, I'm like, oh, I forgot that happened. It's something about the adrenaline in the room. Westmoreland says from Combs, you saw One Stop sell substances. You saw him take money? She said, yes. All right, 1 second. Didn't you tell the government you never saw anybody pay him? You lied, right? She said, no. That's important. If you're saying, because that's an important question in order to prove up an enterprise, are you seeing money exchange hands? Now, in this day and age, we know people transact, Cash App, PayPal, all of that. But back then, y'all, like 2010, 2012, it was PayPal at best. Judge, sidebar. The judge just said sidebar. Okay. Back from the sidebar. Make sure y'all can see it. Back from the sidebar, y'all. Stay with me. Yeah, nose candy. Oh, I like that. Oh, okay. We got powder. That's what I'm going to do. Powder, white lines, hitting the bag, getting skied up. Oh, I like that. Okay. I'm going to hit them. Yeah, because I don't want any of my Caucasian cousins in the chat. I'm not mixed, but we're all family here. I don't want you to feel like I'm singling you out by calling it white. All right. She says, hit the subscribe button, y'all, as you're joining. I know some of you guys are new. I'm attorney Simone. I'm an actual lawyer. Been doing this for 17 years. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. And so I do the facts, and then we also break it down here so that you walk around and you can repeat the facts. I don't want you running around telling stuff that's not right, because that's happening a lot here. It says, back from the sidebar, defense attorney Westmoreland. Remember, she is the only African-American female on the defense team. And she is a survivor of the R word. She, both her attacker, she was actually attacked in a music studio. Her attacker ultimately pled guilty to her R word, only received 3 years, unfortunately. And later she received an undisclosed settlement from Cash Money Records after a jury found them responsible for what happened to her. I can go into those facts later if we got time. All right, Miss Moreland says, so I have been wondering, who was Miss Westmoreland going to cross? I was hoping it wasn't Cassie, because I didn't want to see that. But she's also from the Young Thug trial in Atlanta. That's where people begin to really know about it. She represented one of his co-defendants fairly successfully. It says he got 7 years, but he was facing like life. It says, it was you who reached out to Mr. Combs to work with him again. Don said yes. But he had threatened you, right? You asked him to work with you again? Yes. Okay. Moving on. That's what you do. You made your point. Boom. Keep it going. Don't let her explain, oh, well, I reached out again because I needed money and he hadn't paid me residual. This is cross. Keep it moving. Miss Westmoreland, the songs you've released on your own have not reached the level of what you released with Danity Kane and Dirty Money, right? True. And you reach out to Mr. Combs to try to make more money, right? Yes. Somebody said, oh, shoot, there's a video. Okay, let's see if we got any more here. AUSA, can we have a short sidebar? There's a sidebar, and it says, and it's not short. Still wondering why the side's legal arguments to the judge, the judicial documents, will only go into the document in a week. So we're waiting to figure out what is the deal with that. All right, let me say this. Somebody is saying right here, that civil suit is about to get tossed. Let me tell you my thoughts real quick as we are waiting. We're waiting for more, okay? We are waiting for more. I'm going to give you my thoughts on the civil suit. I did a breakdown video. If you come here to my channel, actually, let me find it real quick. I'm going to add it to, I have a Diddy playlist. I'm going to add it. Hold on. We going so that if anybody it is a literal. Here we go. Boom. Found it. I talk very casually, y'all, when I'm not in court. Said found it with the T. All right. I'm going to add it to, yes. I just did that. And what I will also do, see right there, I'm going to pin this. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to pin this in case anybody wants to like save it and go back. This is me breaking down Dawn's lawsuit, her civil lawsuit. She filed it actually in September. I want to say just before he got locked up. Just before he got locked up. Hold on. We got it. Here we go. I'm going to pin this to the chat, so give me a quick second. Here. We got that here. Thank y'all for joining us. I'm attorney Simone, your legal bestie. I break down celebrity legal cases so that you get the tea. You know what's going on. You can have educated. Here we go. I pinned it. This is Dawn's video, the video breakdown. I need to, hold on. Let me spit it. Breakdown of Dawn's lawsuit. Y'all, this is so ghetto, but my keyboard up here is broke. So I have like an external keyboard. So that's why like I'm looking like this as I'm typing. So forgive me. But if y'all could, I'd really appreciate, I'd be appreciating them super chats. Or if you want to hit my Cash App, which is MISS Redwine. My last name, y'all, really is Redwine. MIS, that'll help me so I can get my computer fixed. All right, here we go. It says, Okay, so here's the thing. Thank you guys. Hit that like button as well. In addition, oh, Francis, thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Francis. And also drop below other celebrity topics and stuff you guys want me to break down. But here's the issue with Dawn's legal case. Her legal arguments are sound. The things that happened to her, there are laws that protect her. All of that was justified. I said this in my video. Her issue is statute of limitations, baby. Statute of limitations. In other words, meaning she just seemed, from what I'm seeing from what I saw back in September when I broke it down, is that it looks like she just filed the suit too late. Here's why I say that. Remember that the law opened up where Cassie was able to file, and then a component of it closed in March. It closed in March. Not March of 25, March of 24. That's why it was a lot of suits. It closed in 24 for a variety of things. I believe, based on the understanding of the law, that is, I said it way back then that was her problem. On Friday, Diddy's lawyers filed a motion to dismiss for what? Statute of limitations. Just what I said. Statute of limitations. Yeah, statute of limitations. Thank you so much, Chloe Jen. Thank you for your accuracy. I appreciate it. Y'all, it really made me feel a little warm and tingly inside last Friday when Cassie, in the morning time, I had reminded you guys, because I've been saying this for months, that Cassie's lawyers also pursued the Intercontinental and got paid from that. And in the afternoon, her testimony, she admitted, and I said she got 10 million. I said she probably got around 10 million. Here's why I know. I'm this type of lawyer. I do this. I'm personal injury. I'm auto accidents, 18-wheelers, wrongful death. I receive millions for clients. I make clients millionaires who have been wronged by corporations. I call it corporate reparations. Literally, we sue companies and we sue rich people who have insurance policies. We get to that policy so that I can get you your corporate reparations when you've been wrong. I don't do slip and falls that you done stage with your boyfriend on probation. Don't come over here. I ain't got time for that. But yes, I said months ago that she was also getting paid. And the reason, here's why she got paid from that hotel, y'all. The reason she got paid is it was under the law would be, the general term would be negligent security. What that means is the security was supposed to make her safe. Instead, what did they do? They took the damn evidence that she could have used to go to the police. In fact, remember, the police were called. The police were called after her homegirls. She went over to her homegirls. They called the cops. The cops did some investigation. She didn't give the cops the name of the person because she said she wasn't ready. But even thereafter, the tape went missing. As a result, the statute of limitations passed and she never was able to get justice. I do believe that if that tape had existed, baby, when she got with Alex, who was the same person that encouraged her, Alex and her probably would have went and been able to file criminal charges. It was a 5-year statute of limitations for the hotel beatdown that happened in March of 16. There's no dispute on that, y'all. March of 16, which meant that she had until March of 21. Her and Alex, they got married in 19. You think Alex wouldn't have been like, let's get this videotape and let's get this rocking and rolling, baby. Let's get some coins up. I believe that he would have. That's my thought. Thank you so much, CB3. Here's a little something for your new computer, girl. Thank you. And girl, I'm gonna try to do it. Yes. I'm gonna try to do it cheap. I'm gonna see if they can just fix my keyboard because I got all this stuff in here. You're right. It was 10 million this week, but I'm saying I knew that the type of lawyer she has and the legal strategy, you go after Diddy first, then you go after that hotel. So I said it before it happened, but I knew that was money that was not going to be left on the table. And sure enough, it did. So you're right. The win, but yes, the hotel did settle. And I explained, here's what's important. Many people were like, oh, how come we didn't? I told y'all, I said the reason it hadn't been in the news, we hadn't heard about it, is they had sense enough to settle out of court before she filed the lawsuit. That's why one of my biggest strategies when I'm dealing with publicly traded companies, or you're dealing with celebrities. When I'm dealing with celebrities, there is a premium for privacy. So if money is your goal, Hotel Continental, they are publicly traded. So baby, their stock price would have went down tremendously. Think about it. If she had sued them on the docket, the stock price would have went down tremendously, blah, blah, blah. So the easiest way to get that money as an attorney is you write that demand. I was a finance major. I would write all about how this is going to ruin your brand, your image. People are going to be protesting you. Just hand us the good fucking money. Hand us this money. Because the insurance policy, my guess, because I've dealt with those kinds before, was a $10 million policy, which means they gave her every dime. In other words, going to court wouldn't have got her more. It would have gotten her less. The reason it gets you less is when you go to a lawyer and your lawyer represents you for this kind of thing, we do it on contingency, which means we get a percent of what we get. Our contracts generally are we get 33 1/3 if we settle for you before filing a lawsuit. Then if we have to file a lawsuit, it goes up to 40%. In other words, you lose 7%. That's a lot of money when we're talking about $7 million. So, yeah. Oh, someone says they approved my workers' comp case, but my shoulder is blown out. Most important, I didn't stop working because I didn't want to be homeless. Yeah, you not stopping working, it totally makes sense. Attorney Simone, should there be a statute of limitations when it comes to money being low? Yeah, it should be. In most states, it's 4 years or 6 years. The reason why is because over time, evidence goes away. It's hard. You even go into your bank statements to prove things. So you need a statute of limitations to, first of all, if something's that important to you, you're going to file that suit in 4 years or 6 years, which reminds me, I got to sue the old firm that I was with. Those fucking scammers. I get it then. All right, let's see. Hold on. Let's see if we got an update. Y'all know I can be long-winded, but I'm on topic. I took my medicine today, y'all. If you know me, you know I'm ADD. All right, 2 minutes ago. Extra. As Combs' second lawyer from Georgia, Nicole Westmoreland, grills Don Richard on her 3,500 I'm guessing page material, notes of interviews with prosecutors, you gotta wonder if the defense might have taken the same approach to crossing Cassie and maybe decided to go softer. All right, 14 minutes ago, here's what we got. I'm gonna make sure you can still see it. Yeah, here we go. It says, AUSA, can we have a short sidebar? And it's not short. Okay, they are back from, in quote, a long sidebar. Now it's redirect, meaning the prosecutor is now trying to help rehabilitate Don, so to speak. I don't think Don did a bad job, but basically giving a chance to re-clarify anything. AUSA, why did you file your civil lawsuit? When I worked for Sean Combs, I had no sleep. The conditions, i.e., y'all, forced labor. We're going to signpost, because we talked about this on Friday. Over here, we're going to signpost anytime there are facts that support one of the A through H. What is that? I think that's eight underlying RICO offenses. All right. She said, I had no sleep, the conditions. In every meeting with the government, did you say that Mr. Combs beat Miss Ventura? She said, yes. Who or what is One Stop? It's the nickname of a person that Don testified sold substances to Sean and his entourage. That's probably going to be easy to prove. All right. All right. I think this is the biggest update. All right. It says, let's do your interview. Yeah. No, I think these are, I think we've gotten up to date. Let me just triple check. All right, we got the sidebar 7 minutes ago. Yes, the last thing we have is why did you file your civil suit? All right, now we got one more. Why did you ever file your civil suit? When I worked for Sean Combs, I had no sleep, the conditions. In every meeting with the government, did you say Mr. Combs beat Miss Ventura? Yes. Why'd you reach out to Mr. Combs? One of the judges, talking about, I guess, to work with him again, it says, one of the judges on making the ban, Lorianne Gibson, I wanted to reach out. Objection, sustained. I wonder why that was sustained. How often would you hear from Mr. Combs after you left Diddy and Dirty Money? Hold on. Why did you reach out to Mr. Combs? One of the judges on making in the ban, Lorianne Gibson, she said she wanted to reach out. Okay, objection sustained. I don't know what the objection is, y'all, but Lorianne is going to take the stand. Lorianne is excited to take the stand. Lorianne is, I think she's concerned about her safety, understandably, but Lorianne is going to take the stand. I think Lorianne's testimony, and I'm not sure which day it's going to be, she's going to blow it open when it comes to forced labor. Forced labor, y'all, yes, they are signed to Diddy. But what you can't do is you can't make somebody dance and practice all day and all night. Well, hell, we saw that. If you watched the making of the band, y'all saw them have to walk to Brooklyn and do those shenanigans. But forced labor is also a component of it, is where you give part of the allegation in this case is that Diddy would have the performers take substances so they could be up all night, work all night, not receive breaks. It says, how often did you hear from Mr. Combs after you left Dirty Money? All right. We're going to wait and see. Also, remember, you can go to my website, SimoneRedwine.com. If you are seeking a consultation for any legal matter in America, if it is an accident or injury case, which I take on contingency, you don't need to pay a consultation fee. You can actually call my office, and I do free consultations for accident injury. It needs to have happened within the last year. And preferably you're not represented by anyone else. But I will let you know. I would love to help. This is what I do, and it makes me fulfilled. All right, I would have dragged my girl to court for sure. Nah, babe, we suing Diddy expeditiously. I wish I would have known you when the Depot lawsuit was announced. Yes, I would have asked you to take my case. Actually, when I first got started, well, I did wrongful death and so forth, but I also did a lot of pharmaceutical litigation, so devices that failed, so the perms, all of that. It says a win is a win. They still took a bribe for bad boy Sean Combs. They're in the wrong. That's right, friendly neighbor. We're going to talk about that when I get to. I'm just waiting to confirm whether we've got like kind of the closest update. Okay, it's 11:30 there, so they might be getting ready. My guess is they're going to finish with Dawn and then go to lunch. And do not miss it. You guys do not want to miss it here. I want you guys to hear. Hold on, let me go to Insta. I'm going to explain to you how they've already proven RICO. I know, y'all. I know it sounds nuts. I know it sounds nuts, especially for people who are like, I don't know about week one. I'm going to show you how on week one, according to the law, they already proved RICO. Now, here's the thing. While we're waiting for more coming, some people may have known me from, there's this particular video that went viral. This is where I broke down how it was Cassie got paid within 24 hours. Here we go. I'm going to play it for you while we're waiting for more updates.
Didn't sue just Diddy. They sued his corporation.
They sure did.
And they
Hold on, let me start it over.
Corporations.
Apologies for my makeup.
Her attorneys were really brilliant. Yeah. They didn't sue just Diddy. They sued his corporations.
They sure did.
And they sued his corporations and sued in her capacity as an employee. When you do that, it triggers commercial liability insurance. Yeah. And it triggers another policy called directors and officers. Okay. And we know he's a director of these companies as the CEO. So now you got two policies. What happens then is it takes away Puffy's ability to settle. It's not his choice no more.
So it's no longer personal accountability. It's his organization.
It's his organization. And it's no different than like if you hit somebody with your car. Mm-hmm. Let's say you have State Farm. Mm-hmm. State Farm gets to decide to settle, not you. You could say, I didn't run the stop sign. That's not true. They're lying. If State Farm says, we don't care, we did our investigation, we're settling. That's it. That's what happened here. So because they added those claims, the corporate insurance carrier got to say, read over it and say, oh, hell no, we giving her the money.
We're hearing you. Diddy's public reputation is done.
It's done.
Yeah.
And if he wants to be able to leave anything to his children, he needs to walk away from all of these corporations.
Damn, he can no longer be the head of his corporations.
Well, remember, didn't I say directors and officers liability?
Yeah.
More than likely, what will happen is those insurance companies, they have the ability to say, we won't renew your policy if he continues to be a director or officer. Her attorneys were really brilliant. They didn't sue.
All right, so y'all get that. You can go if you want to.
And they sued his corporations and sued in her
All right, y'all. So you can go to my page, which my Instagram, which is Attorney Simone Redwine. So it's literally my name, Attorney Simone Redwine. You're welcome to, like, it's kind of making the rounds again, explaining how that happened. But the same philosophy is how it worked too with the hotel. They made a claim against the hotel. The hotel assigned an insurance agent. That insurance agent said, "Oh, hell no." Oh, although, hold on. With the hotel's insurance actually may have said, as a result of the statute of limitations, they may have said, we're not going to pursue it. But I believe that with the hotel, they probably, however they began the claim began within the statute of limitations. Either way, with the hotel either paid through their insurance policy, because there are policies for negligent insurance. Therefore, a dime didn't come from the hotel itself. But what we will do is this. Here's the tea. It's a publicly traded company, which means when they do their, oh baby, hold on. This just dawned on me. When they do their annual statements, each quarter you have an annual statement. When they do their statement for this quarter, which will be June 30th, would be Q2, they're going to have to disclose the fact that they made the settlement to Cassie, and they likely are going to have to do a little write-up so that their shareholders understand why they went about doing that. So I'm going to check for that when that time comes. This one-man RICO trial is a joke. I'm sorry. They just shut down the whole entire music industry. Oh, okay, hold on. Let's see if there's any more text messages, and then I want to answer that. Okay, we're still waiting. All right, we got a little update. No. All right, we do have a little update. All right, so they had previously asked, why did you reach out to Combs? She said, one of the judges on Making the Band, Lori Ann Gibson. I wanted to reach out. Objection sustained. I guess they didn't want her to tell what her conversation was with Lori Ann. That would have been hearsay, but it says sustained. How often would you hear from Mr. Combs after you left Dirty Money? She says sporadic. Let me make sure this is big. Hold on, I'm gonna make it bigger. I know y'all don't like it when it's small. I understand. Hold on. I am going to. Hold on. She says here, sporadic. Why did you reach out to help Kalina Harper? No further questions. May we have a brief conference at the bench? Sidebar ensues. Now they're talking about Kalina. So here's the thing, Derek. I want to speak to this, and then once this, hey Cheryl, lawsuit settlements. All right. Here's the thing. I understand Derek is saying that one-man RICO trial is a joke. I'm sorry. They should just shut down the whole music industry. Derek, if you're still in the chat, let me know your thoughts. Is it more so that you feel like he should have co-defendants or like in this specific trial, or are you saying that there can't be a RICO because it's just him? Here's what I would say to the latter. To say there can't be okay, number one, for a RICO trial, everyone does not have to be tried together. People can be tried subsequent. But in addition, they're not saying this a one-man RICO. You are right, Derek. There is no such thing as a one-man RICO. There isn't. The whole point of RICO is you have to be able to tell other people, somebody is telling other people what to do, and that what to do is something criminal. So it's not a one-man RICO here where he's having different people execute different tasks, which is what I'm going to get into. I'm just waiting for them to kind of do their morning break because I don't want to be, okay, yes, they're back to it. I don't want to be interrupted because this is really important. But what you're going to see is it's not a one-man RICO. It's just there's one man on trial for it right now. But that doesn't mean other people aren't going to be tried for this later. Hold on one second. This is All right, sorry guys. Here we go. So these are the updated. This is now recross. Miss Cumberland says, you admit you reached out to Mr. Combs to re-engage. You claim only to have a relationship with Lorianne Gibson, but if it got back together, you have to see Mr. Combs more, right? As in other words, if y'all got back together as a group, you'd have to deal with him. And he's supposed to be this big, bad, terrible guy that forced labor on you and did this stuff. Why would you want to work with him? And we don't speak to that. Miss Combs, Miss Westmoreland said, you sued for money, right? She says, for justice. But the suit asks for money, right? Yes. No further questions. That's how you do it. That's how you do it. No further questions. You leave on the note that helps your case. No further questions. Judge, Ms. Slavic, no redirect. Break? Yes, so they must be agreeing to a break. Judge, okay, a break. Okay, so they're going to break. Okay, we got the break. But here's the thing. Part of like her trying to reach back out to him to work with him again, it doesn't mean he's not terrible. What it could actually speak to is blackballing. That's what I like as the prosecutor. I would have barreled down on the fact that, look, if Diddy says don't work with me, ain't nobody working with me. And nobody was working with me. I was getting little gigs here and there, but I had to stay in this man's good graces. And because he controlled basically the keys to me, if Diddy told everybody don't work with this person, they're not finna work with me. I, as a prosecutor, that's probably that's the big thing I probably would have. I didn't feel like they really barreled down on. I think the defense just did a good job. So what we're doing is we're talking about Dawn on the stand. This is my thoughts of Dawn on the stand overall, which is that with Dawn on the stand, where is this? There we go. With Dawn on the stand, so my little Cash App will show up there, y'all. It's MISS Red Wine if you want to put a little tip in there. But with Dawn on the stand, I think her testimony could have been powerful. Really, what I feel like we got up from it is he beat Cassie and she saw it. Okay, so what? We know he beat her. At this point, there's no questions that she got beat. I would have liked to hear the story of how he locked Dawn in the car and Dawn's daddy had to drive from Baltimore up to New York City, have words with Diddy to have Diddy release her from this car after she had been in that car for hours. That's what I would have liked to hear. I want to hear stuff like that. I want to hear more about forced labor, about him making you work and be up all night and all those kinds of things. But what it sounds like is that prior to the testimony today, yes, y'all, I'm recording from jail, from Diddy's jail cell. It sounds like the defense successfully was successfully able to get a lot of what she was going to say eliminated. Yeah. It said, that's who Diddy pissed off, the insurance companies who had to pay her. Oh, okay. Now it's making a lot more sense. That's right. It was the insurance companies. So now, and I'll say this, when Cassie testified, they said, who paid you? She said, Sean. I'm going to tell you, clients don't know that you're dealing with an insurance adjuster. You just say Diddy's side. So some people are like, there are some bloggers. I'm going to say, there's some bloggers, I usually don't name the bloggers, but this one particular blogger, she is very, very popular. And she swore up and down that I was wrong, that insurance doesn't cover any of this, because she was saying insurance doesn't cover deliberate acts. We're talking about Cassie's lawsuits. Here's why I'm here to say she is right. They don't cover deliberate acts, but let me give you an analogy. Let's say someone hits you with their car in like a regular car accident, right? Then you get out of the car, you're talking to them, they get road rage with you. And all of a sudden they take their car again and they intentionally ram that sucker into you. Are you telling me the insurance company isn't going to fix your car? Of course they're going to fix your car. Of course they're going to fix your car. But what they're not going to pay for is the deliberate ramming to your body. They're not going to pay for that. They're going to say, hey, that was a deliberate act. You can sue him in criminal court. You can get paid over there. You can do a separate suit for that deliberate act. But what we're going to pay you for is what he did to your car, because there's a policy. So basically, when there are covered and uncovered acts. It's kind of like if you've ever had even like renter's insurance or, a storm hit your house, they'll tell you there's covered acts and there's uncovered. So because the lawsuit Cassie had, one, framed her as an employee, it triggered employment law insurance. That's why her lawyer, Douglas Wigdor, if you Google him, what's he known for? Employment law. He got up in that policy, baby. Employment law lawyers, all they do is collect money from the employment law insurance policy. They're not even going to take your case if there's no employment law involved. So I hope that helps. That also is part of why it was settled so quickly. All right. To be charged under RICO, a person must, yes, that is true. Let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and put, it's time. Somebody said that. It's advantageous for the company to pay in this instance because I'm sure the hotel is already paying an exorbitant amount of money for policies. That's right. And the insurance company is relying on this. Here's the other thing. Some people are like, well, she should have went for more money. Whatever they gave her, she should have went for more. That's not how it works in insurance, boo-boo. How it works is if there is a policy, this is the law. This is the law. Hold on. I don't want to get up at 3 a.m. to work on a freezing cold. But if I don't get fired, what would that be considered? Forced labor. Hold on a second. I'm going to answer that next. Yeah, it was Tasha K. Somebody asked Tasha K. Yeah, Tasha K. Here's how it works with insurance. So what we're talking about is how Cassie got paid the $20 million from Diddy's entity. She said she testified she got the money from Diddy and Diddy's entities. That's correct because the entities are insured and so is Diddy. But how it works under the law is this. You send your lawyer. So me, if I represent you, I'm sending a demand letter to the other side. I'm outlining all the horrible things they did to you. And as I'm doing that at the end, at the bottom, I'm asking for, I never say a complete dollar amount. I never say 5 million to me because I don't want to sell myself short. I don't want to sell my clients short. I say, we will settle this in exchange for the insurance policy limits. Because you usually don't know what they are before you get into negotiations. So she said the policy limits. If the other side comes back and gives you an offer for the complete policy limits with a complete release, if you don't take it, like that, then that means that's all the money there is. So that means you have to take it. You have to take it. There's no more money out there. More than that, if you take that money, you cannot also sue them again. So while there was a release, there's always a release. That release says you're taking this money in exchange. You understand you can't sue me for more. So yeah, she got 20 million, but Diddy's worth 100. She can't both take the 20 and then say, no, and then I'm going to sue you for 30. No, that ain't how it works. That's not how it works at all. So I just want to make sure that was clear to you guys. All right. Derek has a good question about forced labor. He says, okay, as an example, if I don't want to get up at 3 a.m. to go to work because it's freezing cold, but if I don't, I'll get fired. Would that be considered forced labor? No. Forced labor. Hold on. We're going to pull it up. That's a good question. Because what I hear you saying is you want to have an idea of whether or not these claims are reasonable under these facts. Okay. Hold on, I'm going to pull it up. Forced labor under federal law. Because that was supposed to be a large part of... Hold on, here we go. We're going to go to my school's website. This is where I went. I went to Cornell Law. Here we go. I'm going to put it up bigger. Because y'all need to see my face. I want to see this. Here we go. Ooh, let me pull this down. Forced labor is, it says, whoever knowingly provides or obtains the labor of services of a person by any combination of the following means. By means of force, threats of force, physical restraint, or threats of physical restraint to that person or another. By means of serious harm or threats of serious harm to that person or another. In other words, you go to another label, you could end up missing. By means of abuse or threatened abuse or legal process. You go to another label, I'll sue you. You'll never work in this town again. By means of any scheme, plan, or pattern intended to cause the person to believe that if that person did not perform such labor or services, that person or another person would suffer serious harm or physical restraint. That can also include the chef. There was a chef, he had some incident with the chef and threatened the chef that if she were to quit, she were to leave, if she were to tell about what was going on, he would hurt her. So that's the difference between forced labor and the example that you just gave where you didn't want to get up to go to work, but you'll get fired. So it's more than just getting fired. It's if you don't work for me, I'm going to hurt you. I'm going to restrain you. It could even be a scheme or a plan. It could be, I'm going to blackball you and you'll never work in the industry again. There were elements of forced labor actually discussed in Cassie's testimony as well. Excuse me. What's kind of wonky over there, though, is, again, she had a 10-album deal, only put out one album. So it's like, was it forced labor when they didn't even make any money off of her? I think the forced labor would have been the threats that made her feel if she were to leave Diddy and or his entity, like, right? Because you can't be with Diddy and then be on a different label. Like, that's not going to happen. Then she would have been facing physical threats. Hold on. Let's see. All right. We got some. So let me see. All right. Janice Murad. I missed what he said. Oh, the gist was if he has a job, he don't want to get up at 3 a.m. It's cold. It's freezing cold. And the job says you got to be here at 3 a.m. and do this work that happens to be outside or you get fired. Is that forced labor? And I'm saying, no, it's not. There's no threats. This explains how your words can get you in trouble. Even if you don't. Okay. Somebody said Philly don't have no talent. Cassie don't have no talent, but to lay up, period. Cassie says FOs became her job. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. All right. Thank you. Oh, we got a new member. Sifaway, Yvette, thank you so much. All right. It says, while conventional legal analysis exists, this is more akin to Simone offering her take over most. Yes. The way I kind of break down my cases is I try to break it down in digestible pieces for the average person. Thank you. And a spirited, unfiltered brand of legal commentary that blends personal insight with cultural critique. Oh, I love that. Did you get that from ChatGPT? I love it. Lisa Love asks, how can Dawn testify from 20 years ago? She was getting ready to do a reality show with Diddy in the last 3 years, now testifying against him. See, Lisa, so what I said is I felt the prosecution should have done a better job to have Dawn establish. The reason she continued to reach out is because, in part, at least this is what it says in her civil suit, she's already owed so much money, but also he has the power or has blackballed, blacklisted. So without Diddy's consent to engage in a project, people are not wanting to work with her. That was not clear from the testimony that we just went over together. Thank you so much, Chloe Jen, for the super chat. Empower Wendy, thank you. Oh, you're waiting on Social Security. We play Follow the Leader and do $2. Yay. We got here. Oh, wait. I get what you're saying, that you don't even have much to give. Oh my gosh, that means so much to me, Empowered Wendy. Next, y'all, I'm going to break down where's the RICO. Love your content. Thank you so much, Coach. You are spot on. I've been giving you credit. So good at accurate info and breaking down the case. Last question. What's a stop it sign? Oh, I missed it. What's a stop sign? I'm not sure. Could you let me know? It says, they still took a bribe from Bad Boy. All right, we're going to go. Let's see. Let me take these off. Hold on. We're going to break down. They're doing a little bit of a break. Let me make sure. See if there's any of this. All right, here we go. Jury's back in. Jury is back in. Here's what we've got. Jury entering. The government calls Carrie Morgan. Oh, sorry, guys. Carrie Morgan, y'all. That is the bestie. Oh my gosh. That is the bestie who he went after with the hanger. Says, Carrie Morgan, where do you live? LA. Who is this? Cassie. What was your relationship? We were best friends. Her boyfriend assaulted me. Do you see him here? Yes. There. in the yellow sweater. Let the record reflect the witness has identified defendant Sean Combs. Why are you here? I got a subpoena. Y'all, I don't think Cassie got a subpoena. They tell you, like they did here, we would have known. Cassie came voluntarily, just FYI. Where did you live with Cassie? Manhattan. Did Cassie drink? Not much. Any substances? None. What was she doing for work? Modeling. Then she recorded the song, Me and You. When did you learn that they were dating? 2007. Y'all, this gonna get good. Morgan, Carrie Morgan is on the stand. Hold on, I'm gonna make a banner. Carrie Morgan. Hold on. Here we go. Dang it. Carrie Morgan is on the stand. Hold on. Let me adjust this. This is getting on my nerves. It's gonna drive me nuts. Hold on. Sound a little further away, but Carrie Morgan, Cassie's former BFF, is on the stand. Yeah, I'm gonna show you a picture of her. I said she's just like a little regular looking white girl. She's a model. She's a little regular looking white girl. Look, I said she looked like Tuesdays. Because Tuesdays, what y'all do last Tuesday? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Tuesday just happened. It's forgettable. Don't think about it. You worked through it. You moved on. You knew what you did last Monday. It started your week. Tuesday, you know, who knows? Wednesday, hump day. Thursday, you were excited because it was almost the weekend. And then Friday was Friday, so you were excited it was Friday. And then Saturday and Sunday. But nobody knows what happens on Tuesday. Tuesday is forgettable. So when you hear me say somebody look like Tuesday, I mean, I don't remember. That's that person that you see and you don't. Yeah, you see and you're like, I don't remember what that girl looked like. You can see that person 50, 11 times and wouldn't know. See, look at cute. Look at her. Hold on. Let's make it bigger. We got this Carrie Morgan. Here we go. Here go, Carrie. All right. This is her. You see? There we go. We got Carrie Morgan on the stand. We are waiting for an update on the testimony. Yeah, she looked like Tuesday. So y'all ever deal with somebody and you like you deal with a guy who's kind of ugly and be like, oh my gosh, we got some cash out. Analytical one gave me $20. Thank you so much. Sky sent me $20. Love you. I really appreciate that. I don't know who these people are. All right. So we're waiting for more update from Carrie. This is Kelsey. So if, you can always say, oh, she looked like Tuesday, just to remember, oh, that was, just a regular. She's not ugly. She's not beautiful. She's just a nice. She looked like Tuesdays. Yeah, Diddy is crooked, y'all. She looked like Tuesday. She looked like Tuesdays. He had no moral code and it's costing him. Coco Melon, I think artist mentioned. Okay, what do we got? We got another. Yeah. All right. This was the question about forced labor. I don't want to get up at 3 a.m. in the morning to go to work on a freezing cold day. But if I don't, I'll get fired. Would that be considered forced labor? No, because there's no threats. Nobody's threatening you. Nobody's pressuring you. Nobody is. Yes, you'd lose your job, but no one is saying, if you don't do this, I'm going to hurt you. I'm going to hurt your family. I'm going to leak videos or footage of you. That's what forced labor is. All right. So let's see what else. So we just started her testimony. Now, mind you, Carrie is on this stand because she was subpoenaed. That means Carrie said, I don't want nothing to do with this. She said, leave me out of this. But that the government felt that there's something about what she has to add that they don't feel they can get from anyone else. Because as much as possible, the government doesn't want to have to subpoena people. They want people that are going to show up voluntarily to, help them effectuate justice. Why? Because what the hell? I got negative $8 in that bank account. It's okay. It's fine. Somebody gave me 20 today. So it's going to be negative 12. I mean, it'll be positive 12 in a minute. But you basically, if you have two choices, if you can prove up something with some testimony and your choice is somebody I got a subpoena and somebody will come voluntarily, you always want a voluntary person. Let me confirm. I believe that Cassie was not, here we go. Was Cassie subpoenaed in the Diddy case. I don't think that she was. The reason I say that is because, okay, it does. One of these says yes. No, I don't know that I believe that Ms. Ventura was there to testify. If she was, it'll be in the transcript because they ask you that. It helps to establish that you are there. Like, you're not there voluntarily. You're there because you have to be, basically. I don't think that Cassie was. The reason I say that is because the first time Cassie sat down with the feds was a week after, like 2 weeks after her case settled. So her case settled like the week of like November 18th or 19th. She sat down with them November 30th, and then she sat down again. Will you testify and you sold your daughter to Bull? Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. Hell, I couldn't testify for nobody. Once hitting menopause phase, my memory selective. Shoot, I understand you there. Diddy has demons. Update on the case today. Yeah. So Dawn just finished. We're waiting for an update on testimony from Dawn. I'm sorry, from Cassie's homegirl. All right, here we go. We do have an update. Oh, wait. No. Hold on. Let me go back to this. We've got Carrie Morgan on the stand now. And we are still waiting on an update from Carrie Morgan's testimony. I'm going to also head over to the Washington Post. Let's see what we got over there. They make sense. They do a good job, I feel like. So does Associated Press. Hold on. Here we go. All right. We got live updates. All right. While we're waiting on an update on because the last thing Carrie Morgan said is that Cassie didn't drink much. All right. We got some more. All right, 5, 3. Hold on. We got an update on Carrie's testimony. Let me get this. Hold on, I'm going to pull it back up. All right, here we go. All right, the judge says 22 minutes. Okay, a break. There was a break. Jury's back entering. Hold on. All right, let me start at the beginning. All right, here we go. All right, any updates? Here we go. The jury is back entering. It starts with the government calls Carrie Morgan. Where do you live? LA. Who is this? Cassie. We did that part. All right. They asked, when did you learn they were dating? She said 2007. Did you travel with Cassie and Mr. Combs? I'm going to just start liking this ones that after I've read it, so I don't reread it. Did you travel with Cassie and Mr. Combs? Yes. Ibiza, Miami. What substances did Mr. Combs provide? Molly, marijuana, X. Which did Mr. Combs take? All. Did you take substances alone with Cassie? Opiates. How did Mr. Combs act? He would yell at Cassie. She lost her confidence big time, lost her spark. Did Mr. Combs talk down to her? Yes, about her looks and who she talked to. Did he contact you looking for her? A lot. Sometimes he would call 50 times in a row. Would others call you for him? Yes. Christina Karam or KK. Did you witness him hurting her? Yes. First in the Hollywood Hills. Ruben, one of his security guards, was there. Naming a security guard or a staff member that was there, it helps to show a means of operations for the enterprise. Here's why. Because if it's a security guard, but you let the security guard allows him to abuse someone, that goes to the method and means of the enterprise, of the RICO enterprise operation. Also, her testimony here saying, would others call you for him? Yes, KK. Method and means. That's showing that he has other people do his dirty work. In other words, if Cassie's trying to get away from him, be away from him, not deal with him, he will then have not just him, his staff will annoy the living daylights out of her until she responds. I agree. Smart things. I think the jury sees reasonable doubt. Let me tell you this, and I'm going to break this down again. I've been waiting just for a bit more of a break. And I think any time now it's 12:02 there. So we're probably going to be doing a lunch break. I'm going to do a breakdown because I want you guys to be clear of what we have seen RICO wise as far as proving RICO and what we have not. I'll tell you this. And when I do my breakdown, remember there's 3 charges here, multiple counts on certain things, but 3 charges. Transportation for prostitution, trafficking, and RICO. I'm going to go ahead when I do my analysis. I'm going to go ahead and say, let's say, just for the analysis, don't get mad at me. Let's say that there is reasonable doubt for the trafficking. Now, there are only 2 guys that are being called to prove up trafficking. Cassie and victim number 2, whoever victim number 2 is going to be. So if you don't believe Cassie's testimony, then perhaps the jury may believe victim number 2's testimony regarding trafficking, or they could believe neither of them. You don't need trafficking to prove RICO. Let me say that again. You don't have to prove trafficking to prove RICO. So that's why when people are like, I don't see the RICO, I totally get it. But you got to take the trafficking part out of there, because I totally see how at least one of them 12 jurors, at least one of the 12 could say, nah, I don't feel comfortable calling what was done there trafficking. I feel more comfortable calling it DV. No problem. I can follow you. I can see how you can get at least one person, because if one person says, nope, I'm not with it, and then it's a mistrial as to that one as to that particular charge or count. And they have to do it for each person. So there's going to be, do all 12 believe in trafficking for victim 1, which is Cassie? Do all 12 believe in trafficking for victim 2, whoever that's going to be? The problem and the challenge is going to be victim 2 is also a former girlfriend. That was somebody he dated from 2021 until he got locked up in 24. And I think that it's just going to be very difficult with all that's going on in this case I can see for at least one person on that jury say, I just don't feel comfortable giving him whatever penalty you'd get for trafficking for this DV. And again, the reason he wasn't charged with DV is the statute of limitations. Well, let me clarify. Statute of limitations expired for Cassie, but for the other woman, where it was from 2021 to 4, technically she could pursue DV charges, but DV is a state offense. It's not federal. So if she was going to do that, she actually couldn't even pursue DV in this case. She would have to pursue DV in whatever state that occurred in. I hope that makes sense. No. Okay. Yes. Forced labor. When they asked Dawn about her sleep. Okay. This is a good point. Let me see. Make sure you can see this here. They asked Dawn about whether or not she slept. And she said, no sleep. That's because, as I said before, it speaks to forced labor. No sleep. I don't get it. You had a job, though. To say, I don't feel I can do this job again would make it not forced labor. Hold on. Let's go back to that. Yeah. All right. Let me see if we got any other updates. Carrie Morgan is on the stand. So we're waiting for an update on the Carrie Morgan testimony. The last thing she testified to is she said, did he contact you looking for her? She said a lot. All right, we got another one. What did Mr. Combs do to Cassie? He kicked her. What did she do? Nothing. I told Ruben, do something. Ruben was security. He indicated he wouldn't. Then what? We left the house. Cassie and I were hiding by someone's front steps. All right, that's one incident. Let me go to Washington Post. Let's see. All right. All right, it just says the government called its next witness on the Washington Post. The jury was introduced to Morgan last week as part of Cassie's testimony. Morgan was her longtime bestie, but cut her off after the singer in 2018 after an alleged incident in which Combs attacked Morgan with a wooden hanger. All right, while we're also doing the updates, here's an update from Washington Post regarding overall Dawn's testimony. So Dawn's testimony has officially wrapped up. Defense attorney Nicole Westmoreland wrapped up Dawn's testimony on the stand Monday morning by challenging her assertion that she didn't personally want to return to Diddy's dirty money. The group that Richard formerly was in with Combs and Kalena Harper. Westmoreland asked Richard if she understood that reuniting would mean spending substantial time with Combs, including touring with him. Combs' lawyer then brought the questioning back to her, Dawn's lawsuit. When Richard said that she hoped for justice in the lawsuit as a result of filing it, Westmoreland asked her whether money was part of that justice. Richards, and it's actually Rashad is how she pronounces it. She's from New Orleans, so Rashad's complaint outlined financial grievances, including the claim that she is owed more than $3 million in unpaid wages and royalties. And when asked if money was part of the justice she was seeking, Richard said yes. Just FYI, I know I said earlier, I believe the statute of limitations has expired for most of what Richards is claiming. However, for the breach of contract stuff, specifically the part of where she's saying she wasn't paid $3 million in royalties and wages, that won't be expired. There's still time for that because they're basically, you continue to be owed royalties. You continue to be owed those. So number one, every state has their own statute of limitations for unpaid wages. I'm not sure what it is for them. I'll look it up when we get a chance. But for royalties, those continue. As long as songs are being played, those continue. So she is entitled, even if the statute of limitations is up for the forced labor, some of that other stuff, she can still get paid for whatever. So let's say the statute of limitations is 4 years or 6 years. Whatever royalties she was supposed to get in the last 6 years, she can still be paid for that. She can still be paid for that. Also, if any fraud was committed, because he's saying, I don't owe her nothing. If fraud was committed that would have hidden the fact that she was owed certain royalties from her, there's something called the discovery rule, which says if someone is basically trying to hide the fact that they've wronged you, the statute of limitations can toll during that hiding process and start up once you found out, hey, you were really owed that money. She may be able to argue that too. All right, so let's see. Oh, shit. Hold on, y'all. Y'all, this is juicy. Hold on. Hold up. Oh, shit. Oh. I'm calling you immediately on my bright. Absolutely. This is a class action. Exclamation point. Hold on. It says AUSA has now said, what did Mr. Combs do? Okay, this is the same. Okay. What did Mr. Combs do? She's recounting. Let me make sure I'm showing this properly on the screen. She is recounting that she watched him beat her. Ruben, his security, was there. She told Ruben to do something. He indicated that he wouldn't. Ruben didn't do anything. They left the house. She says, Cassie and I were hiding by someone's front steps. AUSA. The next time in Jamaica, I saw him drag her by her hair. I ran back to get my purse and my phone so we could leave. What did you do next? I thought she was knocked out. Then she got up and ran into a wooded area. Okay, that was a second ago. We're waiting for more Carrie testimony. Y'all, sorry, I got excited. So apparently, y'all, I am being sued. Y'all, hold on, I'm gonna show you my big face on this one. Y'all, yeah, I want your response in the comments. It says, all this is proving domestic violence. Coco Mellon, I hear you and I see you. I hear you and I see you. Because I do think for the average juror, it was beyond brilliant for the defense to use domestic violence because what happens is when you're in a jury and you see somebody do the horrific things that this man has done to Cassie, what you want to see, you want you want to feel like this is a crime. Like, you're not just allowing it to walk away without a crime, right? Without it being labeled as something wrong. Like, this can't be okay. But what they're facing is with Cassie, the statute of limitations for domestic violence has passed, but also domestic violence is a state charge that is not in front of them. So in other words, a jury could walk away feeling like, hey, based on the facts, I wanted to get him. I wanted to get him for DV. But that wasn't an option presented to me. That way, they don't have to walk away feeling like they allowed an injustice. They could actually feel like, hey, I did my job based on the facts presented to me, right? It says, Diddy, all you had to do was pay. It's his fault for being a cheapskate. Yeah. All right. So here we go. Y'all, so I'm being sued by Magic City, apparently. I'm going to do I'll do a separate video on that this week. They sent me a cease and desist. On my channel, actually, I did a breakdown. There was a lawsuit filed by Gorgeous Doll, aka her name is Courtney. You may have seen her. We're waiting for more text messages, y'all. So I don't want you to think this is like a nutty sidebar. But I'm being sued by Magic City. So I'll have to tell you more about that. But basically, I simply on this channel, I broke down apparently last month a case in which this girl, her name is Gorgeous Doll, aka her real name is Courtney. She was a stripper for Magic City. She sued them for unpaid wages. It's a standard practice in the stripper industry that they will have strippers take whatever cash they made that day, tip the DJ, tip security, tip the head of security, tip whoever they determine should be tipped, right? It's kind of similar to waitresses. Waitresses, if you're at a restaurant, you might have to tip the busboys. You might have to tip the hostess, right? It's like pooling your tips, right? That's illegal in the strip club context. The reason it's by illegal, I mean unlawful. You're not going to go to jail for it, but it means your job, the strip club is not allowed to make you do that because you're not supposed to have to split your tips with people who aren't also dancing. So all the dancers, yes, they can make you split it with other dancers, but they can't take your tips to pay security and the DJ and those people. That's what the admission is for. And so Courtney is claiming that happened. I did a legal breakdown of the case, and Magic City is literally trying to sue me for defamation, y'all. So you know me, I don't run from a cease and desist. So I'm going to be putting the cease and desist letter on the screen separately. This is not part of the Diddy trial coverage. But I'm going to put it on the screen. I'm going to break down and I'm explaining to you why I don't believe I need to cease nor desist, but I will happily clarify some of the statements that I made in that video. Specifically, they said that they didn't like my facial expressions. And then I called the owner of the strip club senile or old man or something like that. I don't know. All right. Can she, I know you mean Cassie, be awarded more money? All right. We're still waiting on more testimony from Carrie Morgan. I'm so glad that you asked me this question. All right. In the last video, I spoke about this, but someone asked me to clarify. The answer is no. At this point, she's been, okay. If something new has transpired, then maybe yes. But at this point, I don't see anything that she has not already been compensated for with the 20 million. And I really don't think she wants to even be bothered or deal with them people anymore. But I will say this. I want to clarify something. The way her lawyers, hold on. The way that her lawyers, as in Cassie, handled the lawsuit was genius. Because Cassie, when you say, can she, let me see, your question is, can she still be awarded more money? Let me clarify. She could write a book. So that wouldn't be awarding the money. It wouldn't be from Diddy, but she could get that money. Let me explain why as we wait for more text messages. Cassie can make money from a book. It's all about because of the order that she did things. Now, initially, what she said is when she was at rehab earlier in 2023, she was journaling and she wrote out her story as part of like her healing process and that she wanted Diddy to read it. So first she had her people, she said in early 2023, reach out to Diddy and Diddy's people offering to sell him her book. Thank God this man didn't buy it. If he would have bought her book, she could never tell her story. Why? Standard contract for the purchase of the rights to someone's story is that the person who buys it here, which would have been Diddy, would have been the only person with the right to tell the story, right? But because they did an opposite, because she hired an employment lawyer who then pursued an employment law lawsuit that triggered his corporation's employment law insurance policies. And then they settled for sexual harassment and those types of things. So that lawsuit wasn't really settling for the beatdowns. It really, because in order for employment law to attach under those policies, it has to be things that you as an employee. So she may have gotten money for forced labor, whatever, but it was the employment law stuff. She was able to get that money. And then the settlement under New York law and California law, she filed this in New York, remember, under New York law says, even if the settlement agreement says you can't speak on it, that provision is invalid and you can always speak on it, because they want victims of S harassment or whatever to be able to warn other people to say, don't work with this person. They harass me. This is not a safe environment. This is a hostile work environment, whatever. So the law says, even if they tried to sneak in there a provision that says you're not getting this money unless you agree to not speak on me, you can speak, you can tell your story, which means you can write a book. So because she did it in the order that she didn't sell him the book, she settled her lawsuit first. That means she can now sell that book to whoever wants to buy it. Whoever. Let me know if that makes sense in the chat. It's all about the order with which it occurred. So now her same lawyer who got 40% of the 20 million and got 30% of the 10 million from the hotel can help her negotiate a book deal, baby. Negotiate a book deal. That's why you got to go to people who do this in their sleep, because we can't sleep without strategizing these things in a way that's going to get you the most. That's also, you don't never, ever, ever have a personal injury. This was a personal injury. This was employment law, but also personal injury. You don't have an employment law. You never get an employment lawyer or personal injury lawyer that won't take your case on contingency. Why? Because if you got to pay that lawyer hourly, they have every incentive to drag that thing out. Plus, if it's employment law, that means you were unpaid or underpaid or any of that. So who the hell's going to have money for that? A good plaintiff's lawyer. We have lines of credit. Literally, I can go into a bank. I can give them my caseload, say, these are my cases. These are the $1 million worth of cases that I've settled in the last few years. This is my track record. If I needed some money for an expert, they'll give me a loan for it. Literally, based on the cases that I have a few Uber, Lyft cases, $1 million cases. So they'll say, all right, you going, yeah, okay, you need an expert. That's how come my clients don't pay medical bills. They don't pay them up front. I get all that for free, but I will not pay for that mess book. I don't like Cassie. I know, smart choice. You are not with that lady. You don't look like her. Is that why Diddy? Whoop. Hold on. Let me see if we got an update. Hold on. I'm looking for the update, guys. We need the update. Ooh. Let me see. I think they're about wrapping with Morgan. All right. Hold on. Okay, here go Morgan's. Morgan's got some more to add. Gonna make it bigger. Okay. All right, Morgan has added. And she said the previous text was the last time, or previously in Jamaica, she saw Diddy drag Cassie by the hair, run back, got her purse. She thought Cassie was knocked out, and then she got up and ran into a wooded area. I'm just liking them, so I know what I've already read. What happened next? There were 2 golf carts in the driveway. I got in one and Sean got in the other. We went in different directions looking for Cassie. Did you find her? Yes. Then we hid in a ditch, whispering. Lord have mercy. She done found Cassie and said, come on, girl, we're going to hide together. So, oh God, you imagine how stressful that has to be as a best friend. You get in one golf cart, her boyfriend gets in another. And the two of you and the boyfriend are racing to try and find your friend, only because you know he wants to find her to whoop her tail some more after you previously thought she was knocked unconscious, and you want to find her to save her. What about the incident at Comstock, which is an apartment? Cassie came back with a hoodie covering her face. Then Sean came and tried to get in, hitting the door with a hammer. I called D-Rock. Did he get in? No. Then the police came. What happened? Cassie wouldn't show them her ID. Nothing happened. They left a card. Read this message. Did you send an attachment? Yes, it's a photo of the card the detective left. This is further proof of it. I get it. So all of this is supposed to go towards the trafficking. Basically, with the trafficking, they're trying to establish that the stuff that she did was as a result of force, coercion. She couldn't simply leave when she wanted to, blah, blah. When you hear, we'll cover it, but when you hear my analysis, that I'm trying to hurry up and give, I need them to wrap this up with Miss Thing or go to lunch. So I'm eager to give you the analysis. I'm going to put the actual indictment on the screen. We're not reading that whole thing. We're only going to read the parts that matter, that speak to, what do they call it? That speak to the RICO stuff. Because a lot of people are saying, hey, I just don't see the RICO. And I totally get it. As a layperson, I literally spent the weekend going through it. And if I had not, oh no, let me delete this one. Let me add it. Okay, we're waiting for some more updates, y'all. I agree. Cassie is not a saint. I don't think Diddy had underage. No, nothing so far, to my knowledge right now, nothing in this allegation. These allegations have to do with underage. Nothing's. In fact, the reason I know is because if any of the S trafficking was underage, it's actually much, much easier to prove. That just simply has not been the case here. That is not the situation. There's no underage. So people who are saying that are probably just trying to do clickbait, y'all. I'm going to give it to you like it is. Hold on. Come on. I need that indictment. Oh, wait. I think I just had it. Indictment. We need this indictment. Come on, Diddy. I think it's under motions. Okay. It is about to piss me off. All right, third. All right, we are waiting for, here we go. Boom, got it. We're waiting for more updates from, we got Carrie, her bestie, on the stand right now, 10 seconds ago. All right, was just, she's talking about the photo card that the detective had left. It says, during the government's redirect on Dawn, says Sean Combs at one point scooched his chair up and leaned forward on the defense table, appearing to look intently at prosecutor Mitzi Steiner, who was asking questions from a lectern that stands in front of the jury box. Richard says she has no doubt about the alleged 2009 assault, talking about Dawn Richard, about the assault with Cassie. All right, let's see. What updates do we have on Morgan? Okay. Yeah, Morgan is on the stand, describing what's described as psychologically and physically hurting Cassie. She stopped talking to Cassie, as we said, after, this is the one who stopped dealing with Cassie in 2018. They had been friends for like over a decade. She stopped talking to her in 2018 because Diddy came after her and hit her in the head with a wooden hanger, because she and Cassie were doing substances together, and Diddy had allegedly told even the dealers in LA not to sell to Cassie. And he walks in and the two of them are doing substances. And Morgan has testified that he hit her, pulled her hair, kicked her, pushed her. Got it. Again, they're trying to use this towards going towards the ST to talk about how it was, it was part of the ST was, look, the only way that a jury will believe that it's ST as opposed to DV is if they feel Cassie was coerced and that she tried to leave but couldn't. While we're waiting on this, y'all, I'm going to just go into it. Let me show you what RICO is and why. I know. Stay with me. I am not telling you what I want. I'm telling you what I think it is, which is I'm going to show you why it appears prosecution may have already presented sufficient evidence to prove RICO. I'm about to show you. Hold on. Yes, this is like Diddy's jail cell behind me. Give me one quick second. Prove RICO. Just stay with me. I know I'm not telling you what I want. I'm going to give you the legal analysis. I've been an attorney. I've been practicing for 17 years. I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. This is a type of law that I do. Also, I am a personal injury lawyer, so I help people in wrongful death, serious injury, auto accidents, Uber, Lyft, all of that. But also, I have worked in criminal defense. I have defended people who were literally facing life. I've offended a man that was accused of SAing his own daughter and was found not guilty because he was in fact not guilty. So I've done this from both sides. So let me show you real quickly the RICO and why they may have proven it. I want to hear your thoughts in the chat. Give me a quick second. All right, so here we go. All right, can we all agree that Sean Combs Enterprises is an enterprise, right? Sean Combs Enterprises is an enterprise. We can agree with that. Put a right, put a one. Sean Combs Enterprises, underneath that is Bad Boy, is a bunch of stuff. Sean Combs Enterprises is an enterprise, okay? That's no question. But for it to be RICO, all you have to do is show that at some point, Diddy directed people to do illegal stuff. So it makes it really easy. Y'all, I break this down like I'm talking to my homegirls, homeboys at brunch drunk. I'm drunk, they're drunk, everybody a little bit tipsy. So all you got to show for RICO, we already know he has an enterprise. Now you just have to be able to show that some of the stuff that he directs people to do was illegal. Okay, so we got that. Now here's the tea. We gonna go to the tea, y'all. If I have any moderators in here, I just want to tell you, I thank you. I'm gonna add some more. Here we go. So we got the counts. Now we all know the counts. I'm gonna just focus on that. Hold on. Actually, let me pull this. We know we got Carrie on the stand. Let me pull this banner down because I'm gonna repost this. Hold on. This is what I'm breaking down here is how they may have already proven RICO and why. All right, so the three charges, we got racketeering, we got S trafficking, there's counts 2 and 3. One is for Cassie, one is for victim number 2. Both of those are girlfriends. For this analysis, we're going to assume no ST, it's just DV, right? Stay with me, y'all. No ST, just DV for this analysis. All right, and then the third one is, hold on, there we go. Oh, sorry. Count 3 down here is transportation for prostitutas. I have to say it like that for YouTube purposes. Transportation for prostitutas, that's super easy. That's honestly, I think that's like up to 10 years, but more like 5 years that he would be facing. That was proven day 1 and day 2. All you got to show there is that you have some of these male Mandigo hookers, okay? Some of these hookers, and that they worked in 2 different states. That was proven. They had the Mandingo hooker. What was this? Daniel Phillip got on the stand and he listed a bunch of different cities where they paid him to, be with Cassie. Then they also put a bunch of different photos on the screens of different S workers, of different hookers, male hookers is what I'm gonna call them. The male hookers had them on the screen and Cassie talked about the different cities that they were in. Transportation for prostitution has been proven. There is no doubt there, y'all. So for those who are like, yeah, that's there. Okay. So then count 4 is, this is victim 2 S trafficking. We're not even going to talk about, again, this analysis. I'm breaking down how it appears under the law. They've proven RICO. And then I want you to tell me whether or not you think it's fair that this is how RICO is proven under the law. So then the next step is, again, for RICO, we said it has to be an enterprise. It's literally called Sean Combs Enterprise, and the enterprise has to, they just have to show that Diddy has directed people to do things that were unlawful. Here are some of the unlawful things. He only has to show, y'all. I'm sorry, prosecution only has to show 2 of all of these. 2 of these in 10 years. It could either be, I'm going to read them off real quick. It could be kidnapping. The one below that, it says, and these are, it's under A, start there. Kidnapping. The next one is, arson, right? Which is likely going to be Kid Cudi. Bribery. Tampering with a witness. Forced labor. Trafficking. Again, we're not even including that in the analysis. We're going to say, no, that was just DV. And then, this was, prostitution. Yeah, related to transportation for prostitution. We already covered that. And then H is possession with intent to distribute or distribution of substances. All right. So those are the things. They only have to show 2 of those in 10. Last week I said they've proved 50% of it because I said they proved transportation for prostitution. I was wrong. They've actually proven 2. So they've proven 100% of those RICO items. All right. And what they've proven, they have not done the kidnapping and they've not done the arson, I would argue, yet. Some people say, well, what about Cassie being at the hotel, that being an incidence of the kidnapping? Here in the indictment, it states that kidnapping occurred, that one of the counts was in California as well as New York law. The reason I don't think that Cassie's kidnapping is the one that they're referring to here, I've been told that it's actually Capricorn's. One of Diddy's assistants named Capricorn's, that hers is going to be the California one. We'll see. The reason I don't think it's Cassie's is because in California, kidnapping, the statute of limitations for that would not have expired. And after the video came out of her being beat, the LA District Attorney's Office came out, made a statement that said, we're sorry, but the statute of limitations for this offense has expired. They called it assault. That's because for California law, I don't think this would fall under their version of kidnapping because you have to move someone under the law. It says, quote, a substantial distance. And she was moved basically from the elevator bank back into the room. I think under California law, arguably, that wouldn't be enough for kidnapping. So I say that to say, let's assume Cassie wasn't the person that's kidnapping, that it's going to be someone else. And I think it's going to be 2 other people because they reference here both California. Look at A. They reference both California and New York law. But what they have shown is bribery. Bribery was day 1, y'all. Bribery was when they had the hotel worker get on that stand. Day one, witness 1, baby. Hotel worker, security guard got on that stand and he said that that Diddy had one of his workers had a bag, I think it was, with cash in it. Diddy or the worker, whatever, had a bag with cash in it and offered it to him. That's bribery. And what happens when you also bribe someone? You tamper with them as a witness. That's D. C and D covered. Bribery, tampering with that witness. We're going to see more tampering with witnesses potentially because the allegation is that Kalina, who was in dirty money, he tampered with her because the week before she was supposed to sit down with the feds, he called her like 150 some times and may or may not have paid her money. We'll see. But at least we have at least got bribery and tampering with a witness from that hotel, because even though the security guard that took the stand day 1 did not take the money, someone else at the hotel or the hotel itself did take $100K. So that is absolutely bribery. Bribery is just the ask whether they take the money or not. And then tampering with a witness, both of those guys, the person who took the money and this guy here, who was was tampered with in that they tried to basically tell him, don't say nothing. And specifically the agreement for the 100K is that by taking the 100K, they were not to speak of the incident ever happening. That is classic tampering with a witness. The next, forced labor. I had read forced labor is where you use threats to get people to work for you. Now, Dawn today testified that she didn't get to sleep. They work her long hours. She spoke to that stuff. I think we're going to see better forced labor witnesses. The chef, one of the chefs is supposed to be testifying, who was allegedly assaulted by Diddy physically. That chef is going to speak to forced labor. I think the real witness for forced labor that's probably going to be real juicy, Lori Ann Gibson. Because remember, she worked on making the band. We saw it themselves, making the band. There was all this footage of them making them dance and sing and jiggle jaggle and rap all night and all day. And forced labor includes, the allegation was that they would give them substances such as the snow, what do they call powder? They give them powder to make them stay up all night and get the work done. Now, if you ever had friends that worked on Wall Street, they do that on Wall Street too, but nobody asked me. That's that. That powder stuff goes into H as well. Possession with intent to distribute, or distribution of narcs and controlled substances. That too, arguably, evidence on that was presented day 1, day 2, the whole first week, when they talked about how those substances were presented for the FOs. I think there's no question there that was presented for the FOs. And the subsequent testimony that I think we're going to get from Lori Ann Gibson, she's going to talk about how substances were given to get them kids to practice. They weren't kids, but to get the talent to practice, to get them to stay up all night. If that testimony comes out, that's forced labor and that's the distribution. Here's the thing. It does not matter if that conduct was done by someone that is also claimed to be a victim. So the fact that Cassie was testifying to obtaining substances for the FOs, in addition to Diddy, but she also referenced that Diddy's staff would get it. Today, they said somebody named One Stop would obtain it, and even would obtain a child Plan B for him. I guess he said, "We freaking off, but I don't want to be nobody else's daddy." He said, he don't want to be nobody else's daddy. So all of that, even to get into Plan B, distribution of narcotics and control. Now, Plan B is not a controlled subject, nor is a narcotic. I know, because I'm quite familiar. But those two, and then G, which was, we said before, transportation for prostitution. So of the letters that have been presented before, we've got C, bribery, D, tampering with a witness, E, forced labor, arguably, that's arguable because there more will be there. G, which is transportation for prostitutas, and H, which is possession or distribution. It could just be distribution. Just here, I'm sharing it with you guys. Hi guys, I'm sharing it. It's the distribution or possession with the intent to share. We're going to call it with share. You follow me there? Isn't that something, y'all? Isn't that something? I'm looking at the comments now. It says, did someone or did YouTube kick you out? No, I don't think so. You don't see me? Then she came to court with the third kid begging for more welfare from Diddy. Okay, I don't know what y'all talking about there. All right. So what I just broke down there was a quick little breakdown. Let me see what time it was. 11:39. A quick little breakdown of the elements of RICO and how the defendant has already proven at least 2 of the 4, but really it looks like, or 2 of the, I think that was 8. It looks like they've done bribery, witness tampering, arguably forced labor, that'd be 3. Transportation for prostitution, they definitely have that one. And then number 5 would be possession with intent to distribute. That's 5. That's 5, y'all. Because they were bringing it across state. And yes, that's right. So it's not regular prostitution. And also with the distribution, they're sharing it. You're giving it to everybody at your FOs. You can play sick, play crimping, play dead before you don't have to do what you don't want to do. Got it. Life is about choices. It sure is. Jane Doe, she did. Okay. Kidnapping. Yeah, we have. I don't think we've seen strong evidence of the kidnapping yet. Not to mention Young Miami on tape admitting as much. This case could go to the jury. Now, Danny said, at least on aspects of the RICO, it's distribution the moment. That's right. That's right, Angel Eyes. It says, oh, thank you, Tamara. Thank you guys so much for these super chats. Hold on. It says, let me get this. All right. And thank you again for our new members. For new members, I actually post these documents. I have like a special Google folder. So if you join the membership, I think it's like $4.99, whatever. If you join the upper levels of membership, you get access to these documents. And I don't care if I do put a watermark. I don't care if you're a YouTuber or whatever, you are welcome to share it. Yes. What we've got the substances. They're trying to establish he got her on substances. So if you give someone substances, that is an element. It could be an element of forced labor, but also of the force that is required, or the coercion for S trafficking. The difference, y'all, between S trafficking and prostitution is force. That's the only difference, because prostitutes are being paid. So they're happy. They want to be there. Woo, woo. Yes, the Mandingos were excited to be there. They were not being forced. They were being paid and they were happy. What changes it to the S trafficking is when they say, hey, I don't want to do this today, or I don't want to do this anymore, and are still required. It says, I believe they're starting to prove RICO. They need to have it more in their face, not make the jury work so hard to see that they did prove it. Absolutely agreed. Agreed. But also how it is the jury's going to have written instructions that are literally fill in the blanks. Sometimes they do it fill in the blank style. And it's going to ask them a question. It'll be like, did they prove for like S trafficking for prostitution? It'll say something like, do you believe someone was paid to perform a consensual S act? If yes, what did these people did you see evidence that those were performed in 2 or more states? If yes, you must find yes to prostitution for trafficking. That's how it works. It's like a little flow chart on really good ones. Thank you so much, Tamara, for the $5 super chat. Could the bribery for the video be considered obstruction of justice? Yes. Yeah. Sure, it is. It absolutely is. And I think that wording was in there somewhere too. But again, I just want to make sure you were clear how easy it is to prove the RICO. Because here's the thing. Diddy himself don't have to do it. He could just direct or okay someone else to do any of these acts. Because Diddy's not the one, going to procure the substances, but his money is paying for it, allegedly. As a juror, there's a key thing I retain. When Cassie texted that she wanted to FO with a woman, his response confirmed everything. Tamara, remind me, what was the response? When she said she wanted to FO with the woman, remind me what the response was. I'm going to go back and I'm going to check our updates. Hold on, I'm checking these updates. Lord, what's going on? Remind me what the response was. All right. Okay, they did go to break. All right. Yeah, remind me there was, oh gosh, I say that. And then there's like so much going on in the chat, I can't see it all. When she said she wanted a FO with, he's not the one putting baby oil in the kiddie pool. You're right, Danny. He wasn't the one putting the baby oil in the kiddie pool. Although there was nothing wrong with that. That is not illegal. I still think it would be a mistrial. Jurors are regular people, not legal minds. You're right. The closing statements will make the proof clear. Yes. So they're going to have closing statements. They're going to have papers. They're going to have a literal printout of jury instructions. Yes. Okay. We are back. Hold on. We got it. We're back. Here is the new messages. Let me switch it. Here we are. Here we go. Let me pull this back up. There we are. All right. Yeah, closing statements are going to make it clear. Hold on, we're going to hide this. All right, so here we're back, and it's stating, she was just talking about how the cops came, what happened. Cassie wouldn't show them her ID, so nothing happened. They left a card. Read this message. Did you send an attachment? Yes, it is a photo of the card that the detective left. AUSA. Did Mr. Combs ever assault you? Yes. He hit me with a wood coat hanger and choked me. Where did the hanger hit you? Behind me, my right ear. What did he express concern about? Who Cassie was cheating on him with? Oh, Lord. Who did you speak to about it? Morgan says, Ryan, Sean's old assistant. What did he do? Nothing. And she shrugged. I haven't spoken to Cassie since. Judge. It looks like break. Yep, they're on break. So they are probably, let me just double check. It's probably their lunch break. Hold on, we got 4 new updates. Bop, bop, bop. Yes. All right. This is an update. Okay. An additional update that we've got on. This is for, we are at the, it says exactly, people want to play dumb like all that's going on is just DV. Y'all hit the subscribe button. Our goal is to get to 50K is the goal. And y'all, Magic City is trying to sue me, y'all. So, okay, I need 30 more subscribers, y'all. Please, I'm at 49,969 folks. So if we could get 30 subscribers, I will be at 50,000, which would be amazing. All right, this is another update from the Washington Post. I like theirs. It says U.S. Attorney Meredith Foster questioned Morgan about the conversation she had with her former bestie, Cassie. Morgan said that she would sometimes tell Ventura to leave Combs. Ventura would say she couldn't. Morgan recalled because of her job, her car, her apartment, Combs controlled everything. Let me say this. There is a huge difference between I don't want to leave because I don't want to be poor and I don't want to leave because I don't want to get beat in the face. Let me know if you agree in the chat. I don't want to leave because I don't want to get knocked in the face versus I don't want to leave because I enjoy getting my bills paid. There's a big old difference. Now, what complicates this tenfold is he was her boss and he absolutely could blackball her. That is true. She said because of her job, her car, her apartment. But what I am saying, speaking from my understanding as an attorney who's been doing this for almost 2 decades, what a jury thinks about is the jury compares what they would do as a regular person. One of the jury members works at a deli, okay? They make sandwiches at a deli. And what they think about is how they would handle a situation versus how a witness has handled a situation. And if they feel like she stayed for the money, they're not going to fine ST. I don't believe they're going to fine ST. But if they find that she stayed because she wouldn't be able to get any other jobs or that he would blackball her from other jobs, or that he would leak footage that would make it difficult for her to get any other jobs. And this is how I feel. I don't believe if an S tape of her was, I can't say that. I was going to say, I don't know that if an S tape of her was leaked, that would prevent her from getting modeling acting gigs, because she could easily, like my PR, I would have them say I was a victim. This was revenge porn. But it also probably depends on how down, dirty, and nasty it is. You know, if it is a video of her taking urine to the throat and choking on it, I think people would be so grossed out about it that I could see Dove saying no, Revlon saying Cover Girl saying that's not our Cover Girl. You see what I'm talking about? Because even if she were a victim, those kind of videos create so much of a distraction from the brand that a brand will separate themselves from you and say, you know, go through deal what you got to do. Come on back. We need people to forget about Pee-Pee Gate. All right. It says she would have lost. Okay. Megan states on the stand. I'm sorry, not Megan, Morgan, regarding Cassie, says that Cassie couldn't leave. Megan recalled because of her job, her car, her apartment, and Combs controlled everything. She would have lost all of her livelihood. That is sufficient force for ST, if the jury so sees it that way. Prompted by Foster, Morgan said Ventura did not have many friends at the time, and that Morgan was the only one of those friends who was not employed by Combs. Oh, that's very interesting. She was the only friend not employed by him. In other words, she didn't have to answer to him. She was a model of her own right. I, posted a photo. I'm going to show you her photo. This is her homegirl who we're talking about. This is Carrie, who I said looks like Tuesdays. I'm reading the update from the Washington Post. It says, Morgan said she noticed that Ventura would feel more positive about her relationship with Combs after spending time with these people. after spending time with people, I guess more of his workers, you could tell they were convincing her that it was okay. Now we're seeing the purpose of Morgan's testimony. Morgan's testimony is to reinforce the power of the enterprise as well as their mode and means of operation. Remember, mode and means this is how we do it. This is how we do it, meaning this is how Diddy's enterprise operated. When it wanted something done, when it wanted something silenced, they are under the law to prove RICO. You have to show, how does this enterprise operate? Does Diddy say, fix this, make this go away, and then the workers make it go away? Does Diddy say, after he done knocked the head across the room and she runs out of the car, and Diddy says, go get her and bring her back to me, does the security go get her and bring her back to me? That creates the criminal enterprise. Even if, here's the catch, even if what we're saying is that particular crime is DV, so he's not on trial for that, that's correct. But it still establishes the criminality of the enterprise. So the criminality doesn't have to just be based on the 8 things that I had outlined before that they could prove from RICO. The criminality can just be anything unlawful because it shows you the level of power. Because the whole purpose of this RICO law, the whole purpose of RICO is to break down the power, to break apart these powerful entities so that they no longer can run havoc across New York or the nation. They can no longer get away with it because you couldn't get the head dog. So this was what was created so that you could get to the mafia boss based on the conduct of the least person. So the least person can be charged as much as the highest, and the highest like the least. So if he assigns somebody to go unalive somebody, now Diddy could be charged with it. That's not an allegation here. Morgan also says, I don't think she cared if Diddy came and unalived her, she says. Oh gosh, we didn't get this testimony. It says Carrie Morgan told the jury. I'm going to put this up. That's Carrie on the screen. Ooh, Carrie was telling it. Carrie said she told the jury how she saw Cassie in 2016 after the hotel attack, leaving a FO with Diddy. That attack was during an FO. It was a short time after the incident, which was recorded on surveillance hotel, and Ventura stayed home in rough shape, according to the witness, who had been staying at her apartment. She had her hoodie over her head, and she was kind of slumped and just dropped her bags. And then she pulled her hoodie back, and she had a black eye. About a half hour after Ventura's arrival, Morgan said Combs began banging on the front door with a hammer. And Ventura appeared numb. So in other words, this man just whooped you up and down this hallway and in the room. You leave, you go home, and here he is banging on the door with a hammer. Girl, I don't think she cared she says, I don't think Cassie cared if he came in and unalived her. The hotel video shows Combs hurting her in the face, throwing her to the ground, kicking her repeatedly, and dragging her. Poor thing. They are no longer friends. And after the incident, Ventura, Diddy attacked Carrie Morgan with the wooden hanger. And it says, after the incident, Ventura said Morgan made a demand against the former couple, both of them, which both Combs and Ventura paid to resolve the dispute. Cassie did try to reach out to her to try to, be friends with her after, but Morgan wasn't hearing it. That's a good friend. That's a good friend. She says, I'm not going to enable this behavior before. Because I bet you if Cassie would have reached out and said, hey, I'm ready to leave him. We haven't talked in years, so he's not going to suspect me to be with you. Would you mind helping me? I wouldn't be surprised if she would say, I'll put you up in this hotel. You can't stay in my house because he ain't coming knocking on my door with a hammer. But I'll put you up over here. But Cassie and Diddy both paid a settlement to old girl, as they should. The reason we never found out about it is they paid. Her lawyer did what I do. which was sent a demand, which is what Cassie said. They sent a demand and said, I want X amount of money. They paid the money so that it never went to become a lawsuit. Morgan also said she watched Combs act violently to Cassie on two occasions. Once at a home that Combs was renting in the Hollywood Hills and another time in Jamaica. She described seeing Combs push Ventura when the pair were in a bedroom, and that Morgan said she was in a foyer area with the direct view. What the hell? Hold on. All right, there we go. With a foyer area with a direct view of the room, seeing Combs push Ventura and was pretty sure he also pushed and kicked her. Morgan said Ventura did nothing in response. Morgan said she yelled at a security guard that she was standing next to, a man named Ruben, to do something. The guard made clear he wasn't going to do nothing because he wasn't going to lose his job. Again, enterprise. That type of testimony helps show it's an enterprise that is moving pursuant to Diddy's instruction. Afterward, Morgan said she and Ventura left the house and hid behind steps at a neighbor's home as Combs and a security guard searched for them. Can you imagine? Listen, it ain't but so many times that I could do, honey. Morgan described another altercation between the two in Jamaica in 2013. She said after Ventura went to the bathroom, Combs complained she was taking too long and sought her out. A few minutes later, she heard Ventura screaming, sounds she described as guttural and terrifying. Morgan said she then saw Combs dragging her by the hair. Whew. Yep, that is basically, it was an 11-year relationship that she had, early part of the singer's 11-year relationship. Sorry. She was friends with Cassie for about a decade. Okay, we got 3 new updates. Hold on. All right, we've got the jury's been excused for lunch. Hold on a second. Oh, here we go. Oh, I wanted to know more about the settlement. Here we go. Combs allegedly, after the attack with a wooden spoon, Morgan told the jury about the incident. She said, I had a concussion, I was dizzy, and I vomited a few times. Yo, if you throw up, that absolutely means you have a serious concussion. It says afterwards, Morgan said Ventura approached her to sign a non-disclosure agreement on Combs' behalf in exchange for $30,000. Morgan didn't speak to her again after. 30? Morgan. Now, I know this was 2013, honey. The economy was different. We just got out that recession. You can do a lot with 30. But Morgan, it should have been 6 figures, boo-boo. It should have been 6 figures because any lawyer you had probably wanted to take a third of that. Maybe she did it without a lawyer, but no, boo-boo. It's no. Oh my God, she only got 30. Poor Carrie. It says the jury's been excused for lunch, but court is still in session as the government and defense discuss elements of Carrie's testimony that may come up after break. Government wants to ask Morgan about comments Cassie allegedly made in which the singer said she didn't want to go to a hotel with Combs, but, quote, I have to. Ventura was allegedly packing a bag full of sex supplies. Defense counsel objected, saying those statements are hearsay. They are. Government contends this is important to build the argument that Ventura did not want to participate in the FOs with Combs. So I could see it is absolutely hearsay, but it is likely being admitted because if it's admitted, because the defense did such a good job of presenting that it appeared she was consenting to these FOs. It says the judge is going to take the lunch break to consider whether to permit the government to question Carrie about comments Cassie made to her that pertain to FOs, reminding the government and lawyers that they need to eat too. So they're taking a lunch break. Here we go. Here we go. And then here's her. Woo, child. Carrie was. What do y'all think of Carrie's testimony so far? Why are these podcast women applauding Cassie for robbing Diddy? Okay, let me know. I'm not shit. Okay, you women ain't worth a ish. Always playing the, let me put this on the screen. Always playing the victim, robbing a MFer. All right. Well, thank you, J-Dub, for letting me know how you feel. I bet it seems like the Lord is in your heart too. If anyone is, for those who have been in the chat for a while, I think you'll see, I break down the law for both sides. I explain what each side has to prove. And I also discuss which sides are doing a good job in their respective areas and where I perhaps would have done something different if I were, covering this particular case. But I do believe civilly, I'd like to know in the chat, like, I don't think there's any dispute that there is DV. So do you feel like even if her check was just for DV, which it was, will she argue DV and that as his employee, he didn't release her album and he, threatened to not release it and a variety of things to punish her job. So, I mean, I feel like her civil lawsuit made sense, but don't base it on me. There was an actual claims adjuster that works for the insurance company whose only job is to minimize the amount that the insurance company pays out for claims. Not only did that person agree and authorize checks to be cut, but that person agreed within 24 hours of obtaining the written settlement. Now, they'd been aware of the claim for weeks, if not months, because that's how it happens. What happens is we try to negotiate a settlement without having to file a lawsuit, just like how Cassie successfully did with the hotel. But, and then it's only once you don't offer us the amount we feel we deserve that we file the suit. So I say that to say, yes, it was settled in 24 hours, but they had more notice and they thoroughly had gone through the facts way before then. But the settlement, though, was money she received for DV. I mean, I just don't understand with the tape why someone is saying she wasn't entitled. She's laying in the bed with WD talking to Alex. Did he raise all Alex's kids and D? I don't know who WD is. I don't know who that is. All right, here we go. We don't know the context of that, Coco. And she's saying she was coerced to go back. That is correct. 30,000. That is tricking. Yes. 30,000 was nothing. That's literally tricking men. Arguably it's alleged that Young Miami's monthly allowance is $100K per month. So let me do just a synopsis of what we've heard and let me confirm when they're coming back. Here we go. Let me confirm when they're coming back. They got live testimony. All right. Oh, hold on. Un momento. I love how they have these live updates. Here we go. I need to support them too. So they wrapped up with Dawn's testimony. Let me just confirm what time. Let's see. What time they're coming back. I think it's going to be 1. Let's see, because if it's 1 o'clock there. Let me see. It should tell me on Twitter. Hold on. Inner City Press always knows. Yeah, they're out for lunch. Arguments continue, he says. Arguments continue. It says, with the jury out, arguments continue. What's your best citation to try and get this evidence in? The judge says, I'll look at all of them. We'll come back. And there's a citation for a case. And he says, I ain't seen this before. With the jury out for lunch. Okay. Yeah, he said, I hadn't seen it for lunch. What time they coming back, boy? Somebody tell me. Maybe you see in the chat. What is the purpose of Dawn's testimony? Dawn's testimony is to help support forced labor. Forced labor is one of the indictment claims. Let me pull it down. Here's the indictment. And under the indictment, this is, let's see, forced labor is C right up here. Oh, no, C, E is an egg. C, D, E is an egg relates to forced labor. Remember, for RICO, they only have to prove 2 offenses within 10 years. They've already proven bribery. They've already proven tampering with a witness. The hotel worker, security guard who saw the tape and was offered money for it, as well as the one who actually took the $100K. And they've already proved trafficking for prostitutas. They've proven those things, and arguably they've proven distribution of substances because they were distributed at the FOs. The Daniel Phillips, the witness who was the S worker, took the stand and he acknowledged that. So the purpose of Don's testimony here, it appears, is forced labor, but also to support the S trafficking allegations regarding Cassie and to support the means and methods that which have to be proved to show RICO. Means and methods, I said before, is the equivalent of showing this is how we do it. It's to show that this is how Diddy's enterprise works. As in, he hurt somebody and then he threatens by telling you things like, don't say nothing, where I'm from. People who talk about things like that come up missing. That's a threat. So I think the forced labor she talked about as well, like not getting a chance to sleep, having to work so hard and not getting a chance to sleep. Hold on. Let me just pull that back up. Pull that tweet up. Here we go. No. Hold on. There we go. The forced labor. It's on. Yeah. Let me see that. Put this a little bigger. Can you see it on the screen? All right, let me add this. Hold on. I'm going to add this and remove this. With Dawn, for example, one of the things she testified to is Dawn said, why did you file your civil lawsuit? When I worked for Sean, I had no sleep, the working conditions, and every meeting with the government, you said that he hurt Ventura. So when she talked about the working conditions were forced labor. Now, I'll say this. You know, we're just getting the summary from this. I look forward to reading the actual transcript because we're getting the summary from Inner City Press. But with Dawn's testimony, there was a huge hearing before she took the stand. In fact, on Friday, the defense at 3:30 said, we don't want her to testify at all. We are objecting to all of her testimony, Your Honor. The judge was like, you just now telling me this at 3:30 and she's already here? And they were like, yes, Your Honor, we think it's going to be hearsay, redundant, because they really, really did not want her to be able to really get into the forced labor. And it appears that they successfully were able to limit a lot of that. The reason I say that is because she didn't even get to testify to, we know there was an incident that she put in her civil suit where Diddy had her locked in the car at the studio for hours, didn't let her get out, and her father had to drive from Baltimore all the way up there in order for Diddy to release her from the car. That's an example of forced labor. That's forced labor. Forced labor, Tisa said it didn't do well with Dawn. Yeah, okay. I could say that. I could see that. I feel like, though, I don't think it was Dawn who didn't do a good job. I think it was likely the motions and the limitations that the defense was successfully able to have on her testimony, because they did not want her to be able to testify to too many of his, quote, bad acts, like that it shouldn't be a bunch of her just testifying to, okay, he beat her. We already know that. Cassie was on the stand for multiple days. Plus, a lot of what they wanted her to talk about was hearsay. So it wasn't her own car. It says, how could someone lock you in your own car? It wasn't her car. He had a car service. Can she do a documentary? Absolutely. I don't know which she, but either of them can. Cassie absolutely can, because the settlement that Cassie received does not limit her from speaking about it. Dawn has been a hustler from day one. She was trying to stay afloat and get what she could within this control. Yeah, correct. Yeah, that's true. So I love listening, though, to the people that are in the courtroom, especially the non-lawyers, because they're able to tell you what they saw and what they heard, right? And they may not necessarily know under the law what that goes into, but they're able to tell you, like, hey, I saw this and this didn't seem right. So yeah, Cassie saw Carisha getting less treatment she was used to and got envious. They never asked her about being envious of Carisha. That would have been a good question for the defense. Prosecution would never ask her that, but for the defense, that could have been a good one. But as well with the defense, you never ask a question unless you know the answer to it. And if they thought she would have been like, no, I wasn't jealous of her. I wasn't jealous of Carisha. I'm happily married. You're not going to want her to do that as well. You're not going to want to give her a chance to talk about how she's not jealous. Then they try and make it like she's wrong for wanting her money. being locked in the car is not forced labor, it's kidnapping. It can be, but here's the thing. They didn't let her talk about it. So earlier I spoke to this. In the indictment, I'm going to put this back up. In the indictment, which is right here, these are the things that they have to prove to show forced labor. And you'll see here, to prove racketeering. They only have to prove 2 of, I think it's like 8 or 10. What is it? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. So H is 8 things. 2 of the H, first one being kidnapping. And they reference that the kidnapping, one incident was in California, another in New York. I thought Don would have been the New York one, but they didn't let Don speak about that. The reason I say let is because that is something the prosecution would have elicited if the prosecution would have been allowed to. And there was a whole bunch of motions beforehand that prevented them from talking about certain things. Hold on one second. This is my secretary. Okay, now we're good. Yeah, so locked in that car. No, the locked in the car could be forced labor because she was locked at the studio. He would not let her go home from the studio. So that's why I said I totally see how you could see it as kidnapping. Absolutely. But when they were arguing both Friday and today about the importance or significance of Don's testimony, let me see if I can go back up to that. They specifically said a component, they as in the prosecutor, said that a component of it was forced labor. I'm going to find that from this morning. No problem. You guys asked really good questions. And, the lawyer and me, we see things like lawyers do. I really appreciate you guys asking the questions that all the people watching this want to know, because that allows me to have relevant content, not just literally talking to myself or like acting like I'm talking to my friends from law school. It's totally irrelevant. Hold on. Here we go. This is it. I'm going to show it. You see it here? Let me pull this down. I'm going to show you the example of what I'm talking about. We're going to remove this and add this. All right. So it says right here, this was from this morning. This was the argument between prosecutor defense this morning. Defense is saying, look, this is becoming a sort of a bad act free for all, meaning you're just letting him talk about all the bad stuff he's ever done. Under the law, a judge has to take control of that because you don't want the jury to be punishing him for things that he's not on trial for as well. So it has to be a bad act that is directly relevant to what he is on trial for. So here, his lawyer is saying this is a bad act free for all. Assault is just not one of the racketeering acts. Prosecutor, this is relevant to the means and methods of the enterprise. The chef is identified as a victim of forced labor. Because I think Dawn was going to speak to her witnessing something related to the chef as well. And it says, I'm going to defer to Miss Westmoreland, the other defense attorney, on the witness. Mrs. Richard claims Mr. Combs assaulted Ventura right in front of her. These other threats are nowhere near close proximity to the alleged assault. In other words, Dawn was going to speak to her witnessing something related to the chef and the chef's forced labor. And they're like, she didn't see it, or it's not close enough directly related. So that's what we're talking about with forced labor. Chef being forced to work is absolute crap. Okay, well, we're going to find out. They're likely going to take the stand at some point. I think the chef was attacked. There's more than one chef. I know that one chef sued him in civil court for actually being attacked. But so I don't know which of the chefs this is or what is a specific incident, but they keep frequently referring to this chef. And it said, yes, it does. Cassie is married with children, so reaching out to Diddy wanting his validation. Okay. Diddy treats animals better than Cassie. Oh, Lord. Someone said he abused the chef. Yeah, there's more than one chef. There is a chef who actually filed a civil suit against him, but I don't know that it's that chef. But forced labor it includes things like if he says, if you try to leave, I'll unalive you. If you try to go anywhere else, I'll unalive you. Any type of threats that are used, or even blackmail, or I'll blackball you. I'll make sure you never work again. He could actually do that. But again, it's going to be up to the jury. But forced labor is more than just you got to show up and do this work. It's even more than just underpaying someone, which I don't know that that's an allegation. It is using force, power, blackmail, coercion, threats of some sort to make someone continue working past when they want to. So in Dawn's case, she talked about not being able to get sleep. I think Lori Ann Gibson is going to speak to that too about, and there are other witnesses that are supposed to testify to the fact that Diddy would have distributed to them substances that would help them stay up all night, to work, to dance, to whatever. Again, remember that distribution of substances is one of the racketeering acts that they can prove to prove RICO. So I'm going to go ahead and take a lunch break, guys, and I will be back this afternoon. Share this. Hit that subscribe if you have not already. Let me see how we're doing. Awesome. We are at 50,200. 199 actually. One more person. We're at 50,199. Please, somebody hit that subscribe so we can get to 50,200. But we're there. I'm gonna do a little lunch break, and I will be back with a breakdown. This afternoon is supposed to be a little bit more of Carrie Morgan, a little bit more of her, as well as Cassie's mom is supposed to be in the play. So we'll see. All right, see you guys a little bit later. See y'all this afternoon, probably in about an hour and a half to an hour. There you go.